Good morning. Welcome into Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at HQ, but it's the, remote pillar exterior stage. What's up, DB?
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. How are you?
We're doing all right. I mean, I was doing better, but then Shane had to get it started off on a bad note, just giving me all the bad 49ers highlights last night.
Yeah, that was what an awful game.
It was terrible.
Morning.
Hey, so I know it's easy because it was a loss, but would you cut Campbell? Would he get to go back to the facility?
No, not even a little bit.
Yeah, wow.
I wouldn't have let him go back to the locker room. Then he got
a head start, obviously, in the locker room,
yeah.
so you couldn't keep him from going
like,
to the locker room.
All right, but get dressed. You got to go.
Wow,
it's a gots to go situation.
Incredible. I don't know if I've ever seen that.
I mean, Antonio Brown did his deal.
Well, Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
But that wasn't like he refused to go in, though, and then left.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard about it in college. I mean, we're talking like a Scottie Pippen thing here, right?
Yeah,
like this is, I don't even know what to do with that.
In a position of need, too.
Yeah, especially later in the game. You got Fred Warner goes down a little bit, so you needed a guy. It's not like they've been terribly healthy the whole year.
And poor Greenlaw, who's just coming back.
Yeah, and he was on a pitch count basically.
Yep.
I don't, man. And then you had the questions in the post game presser. The guy goes, obviously you had the issue with Devondre. Are you worried about losing the rest of the locker room? And you hear the player comments,
dude. It's a Devondre issue, not
yes. To a man, they were like, yeah, he probably gonna get cut.
Yeah. Well, Kittle had because I've never been with anybody like that. Never seen it. Hopefully I'll never have to be around anybody like that again. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Yeah, they were not shy about voicing their displeasure.
You see that in like high school,
occasionally college.
Sometimes, I guess,
occasionally, not very often.
Certainly not as a pro.
You see it you see it in high school quite a bit because it's like 15-year-olds, their brains aren't developed yet, they're emotional.
Well,
but you're an adult, you're getting paid to be there. What's going on, bud?
Tough look.
It is a tough look. And it's not just for the 49ers. Like, that guy's gonna have a hard time finding a job again.
Not bad. I want to say, can I just say something?
No.
All right.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
No,
what would you like to say?
No. No.
How'd I do on the tone? Did I nail it?
Goddamn classic. Goddamn classic.
Coming up on the show today. Look at me setting the lineup in the first segment.
What is going on?
I don't know. We've got Tim Verghese.
That's probably my fault because every time you ask me what's going on, there's no telling what I'm going to say.
Yeah, and there's no.
So if I don't say anything, then I think it's probably going to be fairly normal. And I started with a sports take.
That's true. When you don't start with sports, sometimes it gets a little squirrely on it.
Yeah. Note to self: can I control the flow?
I don't know. I like it when it gets off the rails. So,
well, do you want to try again?
Well, let me set the lineup, then we'll try again. We'll do take two.
I don't know if I can do it. Plan now.
You can't do it on command?
No.
We got Tim Verghese at 8 o'clock from inside Nebraska.
Who doesn't have anything to talk about.
Yeah, he's not busy at all right now. So we appreciate him just, taking the time to talk to us. 9 o'clock, we got Mike Sautter from NW Preps, Hurrdat Sports. And then at 9:45, we've got our guy, Matt Vrzal, former Husker owner of Paisan's Pizzeria. Speaking of our guy, Tim Verghese, Nebraska got a little transfer portal edition yesterday.
Yes, they did.
Not so little transfer portal edition yesterday.
You know what was funny about that is, like, people were saying this since September.
Yeah.
And whatever happens. He goes to Missouri and whatever, you get your NIL laws. Kind of reminds me of Bill being introduced for like flag planting or something, but
it's a felony.
And all of a sudden, lo and behold, he's back.
Yeah, it was weird how much of a foregone conclusion it seemed to be.
That he was coming?
Yeah, just, but like you said, all the way back to September, it kind of reminded me of the Isaac Trout stuff, where like the minute he enrolled at Virginia, people are like, yeah, he's coming back.
Yeah.
I don't think a lot of people knew anything, but they're just like, yeah, he's coming back.
Yeah, there's a heck of a backstory to that.
But it was a huge get. And listen, I'm going to ask you this because I think you might know, not because I'm making any assumptions here. Do you know how to pronounce his last name?
Nuari, I believe.
Nuari? There's another
Nuarni?
That's where I'm struggling. Nuaneri? There's an extra N in there.
Sure.
Nuaneri?
I don't think it's.
You don't say the first N?
I think it's.
Or you don't say the second N?
I don't know.
I have no idea. So I'm going to call him Williams.
Yeah.
But that's his first name, not his last name. 5-star from Missouri, and at a position of need, which is nice.
I just hope that. So this is a guy that I studied a ton coming out.
Okay.
And I would love to know why the folks in Columbia, like what was going on with the limited amount of games played.
Yeah.
Now, what I hope it was is that he was kind of half-hearted about being there, because from what everybody says, and this isn't like it's new that he's coming to Nebraska, but our involvement with him, studying him, critiquing him is not new.
Yeah.
Like this has been going on since the last recruiting cycle. So just familiar with his game. What I hope it is that he wasn't as engaged or kind of half-hearted or not all in terms of being there. Because from a talent standpoint,
physically,
film's legit.
Yeah, unbelievable.
So and Missouri wasn't really like that.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm
not like he was sitting behind a couple NFL guys.
And they were good up front.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But I'm just,
with his
for the trouble that they went to, to pull this off, I figured he would maybe have seen a few more games. I'm curious to watch that.
Do you have any inclination, or do you think it's possible at all that the 4 games was like self-imposed?
Because he knew he was leaving eventually?
Yeah, if he like got there.
I don't know.
You know, because that's the thing that I thought of was, and I'll be honest, I wasn't paying attention to Missouri's depth chart like that, so I don't really know. But the first thing I thought of was this sort of felt like a guy that even if he wasn't producing at a high level, because of his status, most coaches would sort of lean to giving him some shots, especially early.
What do you know me?
That. Oh, what's that? Weathers.
Yes.
Okay. That's what was going. I was like, find it. So, but
all I could think of is Free Mr. Clark. Like, we're just different. Have you ever seen Lean on Me?
Oh, the movie?
Yeah.
No.
Good. Don't Google it.
Don't Google it.
No. Never mind.
Not a good one.
No, it's great.
Is that the one where the diabetic dies?
No.
Okay,
it's Principal Crazy Joe. It's early Morgan Freeman.
Oh, okay.
He's principal of a school. They bring him in. He's kind of he's no nonsense. Turns around like a school that can't meet minimum test scores.
I almost did a thing there.
I know
that I didn't. I'm glad I didn't. I stopped myself.
So there's this scene where there's this little kid, Sam's, who he's kind of invested in, and you've heard this line before. So they're on he walks. Sam's is cutting class again. He says, "Sam's, come on." So he like drags him up to the roof of the school. He said, "Jump, go on, jump." So I was like, "I don't want to jump, Mr. Clark. I don't want to jump." Mr. Clark looked at him. He said, "You smoke crack, don't you? Smoke crack, don't you? You're killing yourself, son. Just jump." You've never seen that?
No.
That might have been the greatest reenactment I've ever. I've gone into character before.
That was pretty good.
Listen, you got to see the scene. It's incredible.
I was engaged. I was
everybody, and so you'd hear forever when people were like kind of off their game. When people were like off their game or not acting right. You smoke crack, don't you? Oh man, I can't believe you never. That clip, is like. Everywhere.
I'm gonna have to Google it during the break here.
Yeah, Google it.
The thing that I almost did is you went Principal Morgan Freeman and something in high school, and I was like, oh, like Coach Carter, and I was like, wrong black guy.
Yeah, different black guy in a suit that locked the doors.
Yeah, I'm in the neighborhood.
Right. Now, Joe Clark, did chain the doors at the high school.
So
Similar to Coach Carter.
I mean, you know, it's not a terrible miss, but
Yeah. You owe me 1,000 suicides.
I will say I was always not impressed with the speed at which those suicides were run. Those were joggers mostly.
That's an underrated, underappreciated sports movie.
Coach Carter's a great movie.
It's a great show. And it didn't have a, like they didn't win in the end. So it's like,
wow, spoilers, man.
Oh, sorry. Wasn't that movie like 20 years old?
What I like is,
and it's based on a true story, so I think they can
they could Google it.
They could Google it. A lot of Googling.
You think a lot of people are like Richmond High School, 1998 postseason?
Richmond. Richmond.
I just like how in the movie
smoke crack, don't you?
I don't think there was any crack smoke in the movie. Although the one kid was a drug dealer.
They walked into the bathroom. Oh, my little songbirds, because he wanted them to learn the school song.
Yeah,
and they had. We might already have that in the system. Hey, Shane, do we have that clip queued up in the system where the guys in the bathroom were singing it's like Fair East Side? I used to always do it, just break out into character. And I thought Shane clipped it. Maybe he didn't. Shane, did you clip it? He can actually talk to us.
I don't have it in this system.
Oh, you don't have it in this system. Okay.
Different system. Just different
system of a down. That seems like a Shane band.
Can I just say something?
Oh.
No.
No. All
that
right.
is, by the way, I like that movie a lot. Lean on Me.
Yeah, you remember that scene, don't you?
Oh yeah, I remember that scene.
Shane, what's the movie? I think it's a Macaulay Culkin movie. It's like kids.
Yeah,
and the girl.
Weird. I'm talking about East Side High, and you're talking about Macaulay Culkin. Weird.
Not Home Alone, Shane. The one where the girl or one of the characters dies because they have like a diabetic thing. You know what I'm talking about?
The Good Son?
No.
I thought somebody died in that.
People die in a lot of movies, Shane. Like what you turn the mic back off. Turn the mic.
You get so frustrated.
Turn the mic back off. What are we doing? I'm gonna look it up right now.
I was gonna say thank goodness we have Cam so close to us, but Cam's just as nuts.
Yeah, well, and he's behind the glass, so I feel like there's like a barrier between us.
Well, last time I was in there, I think he was pretty upset with me.
No, that was 2 times ago.
Was it 2 times ago?
It was 2 times ago.
Cam 2 times.
2 times.
Yeah, Cam was like, yeah, 2 times. I got it, all right. Sauce is already in my ear. Sorry, man.
Hey, that's my bad.
Good morning again.
Exactly. I didn't know he had that in him. I was kind of proud of him.
Oh, that he snapped at you?
Yeah.
I told you this. Every producer is about 30% crazier than you think.
Yeah, that's probably true.
And they have a breaking point, and they will reach it at some point, and they will snap at you.
Yeah, 100%.
The nicest ones I've ever met will still just like, you push the wrong button, or you think they push the wrong button, they will bite your head off. It's just how it goes. Cam knows what I'm talking about. He's been around producers.
Can you believe that as well-intentioned and as good intentioned as you were, you still couldn't pull it off?
Yeah, I got the lineup out.
Did we finish it?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
I got through verse.
Or is Sautter just forgettable?
No.
What?
No, I got through Sautter. I got through verse.
I was just checking.
We got it done. So we only got 3 today.
My bad.
It's a light day for guests.
Oh, so Doug must be an OG.
Doug?
Yeah, so he is
my
though.
girl. Thank you, Mike and Tim.
Doug, DB, he is an OG. I forgot. He's like, man, DB, I didn't even think you would ever bypass some of your classic Boys in the Hood reenactments. I went into character one day. That's like that movie for what it is, and it's not great.
What, Boys in the Hood?
You know, but it's like it's top 10 faves.
Okay.
It is. And I'm tempted, but Doug, I'm going to practice self-control. I'm not going to do it. I'm not.
I think I need to see it now, though.
You've never seen Boys in the Hood? Do you want to Google it?
I do. I'm familiar with. I'm familiar with the name Boys in the Hood. Yeah. I don't think I've seen it.
Yeah. That was.
Is that when?
That's back when Nia Long was like actually good looking.
I was that back when people thought Cuba Gooding Jr. was still a good actor? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Boy,
So
What did you say? It sounds like Shane. Are you a DJ? Because it sounds like you're like.
It was like one of his first movies. Cuba's.
So is it? Are we going with Cuba or Cuba? Cuba?
I'm gonna say it like I do the country, Cuba.
The missile crisis.
Yeah, although I do think when you're people of Hispanic origin, do say Cuba.
I'm probably not touching that.
That's my understanding. I mean, you're around it all the time. With Spanish people, Hispanic people, right? No.
Yeah.
I just thought you might know.
Yeah.
You might have some. I do like going to Jacobo's, getting some like chips and salsa.
No, I do know it's not called that.
Jacobo's? Is that better?
Sure. I'm gonna ask Amber. She'll know.
Just ask Jay.
My other Hispanic friend. Better knock it off.
What'd I do?
No, it's Friday, and we still got to go home at some point.
I'm from who, me?
You might not. I do.
I mean, I gotta go home. I don't have to deal with anything I'm talking about, though.
So how about playing cards? And the only reason you had to go home is because of the dogs.
Yeah.
Normal people are like, oh man, my wife, my kids.
Oh no, my wife was asleep.
I gotta get home, man. Somebody's gotta take care of the dogs.
Yeah, I gotta,
That's your biggest concern.
mostly, yeah. In most of my days, it's like, all right, when am I gonna let the dogs out? When am I gonna feed them?
T-Mac. Did I say that? There's nothing wrong with Nia Long. I just meant like that was back when I had different tastes back then. And I'm a big did you age well guy.
Yeah.
Because I can admit that I was attracted to some people that weren't very good looking.
I mean, listen, whatever you like, that's fine. It's all good. Everybody has their own preferences. I'm not here to shame.
Cam, have you seen Boys in the Hood?
Yeah, it was a long time ago though.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it came out in 91.
Yeah.
There was a run of really good movies.
That's not the one that what's the one that Tupac's in that everybody talks about? That's not Boys in the Hood, is it?
Well, there were several. Poetic Justice. There was Above the Rim. There was Juice.
Yeah, that's not the one I'm thinking of.
Am I over?
Yeah.
One of those three is over?
Maybe it was Above the Rim. I don't know why I would confuse Above the Rim and Boys in the Hood, though.
It's gotta be Juice, doesn't it?
I don't know.
You got the juice now, man.
Ice Cube's in Boys in the Hood.
Yeah.
You big Ice Cube guy?
Huge Ice Cube.
Really?
guy.
You go.
They either don't know, don't show, or don't care about what's going on in the hood.
Right there.
Big Ice Cube guy.
I thought you were doing like the Are We There Yet movies. Is that not you?
No.
Oh, okay.
It's at least you can't typecast the guy.
Yeah.
Because he's had some horrible roles. What was the movie where he played was it 3 o'clock? No, it wasn't 3 o'clock high. That was the one with Buddy and the bully. What was the one where they were going to fight after school, the principal?
Oh.
It's not a movie for me. It'd probably be more
recent,
of a movie
though?
for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, what's that? I know what you're talking about. It's the guy from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And then it's Ice Cube, and they're going to fight after. I don't know what it's called. It was pretty dumb.
Not sure why you'd think I would have ever seen It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
You big Eagles guy.
Especially not this week.
You love the Eagles.
Which, by the way, is this Sirianni's fault or is it Hurts and AJ Brown's fault?
I have a hard time telling, to be honest with you. It seems like Hurts might be a handful.
This is a heck of a segue, but I'm always usually applauding men that can like share feelings.
Mm-hmm.
Knock it off.
That's fine.
Okay. I'm going to need AJ and Jalen. Jalen Hurts comes across like, get out of your feelings, son. You're a paid professional.
He does seem to be in his feels a lot.
Like
a lot.
They've given you everything you've needed. I can't help it that your last 90 passes, only one of them has gone to AJ Brown. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But AJ Brown, feel free to go be a good teammate, man.
I don't know. He's a wide receiver. I don't know if that's in the cards.
Wow. Shout out to all you wideouts.
I'm just kidding. We love wide receivers. Come on over to Nebraska wide receivers.
Yeah. It's funny.
Talking to you, Dane Key. Come on down.
Careful. You can be like one of those guys that Coach Rhules was talking about yesterday. Which by the way,
feeding off the chaos.
It just, Some of these people are ridiculous, and it's how it's made me mad the last couple of weeks.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I was standing up, I was like, whoa, tell him.
Yeah.
Like, I was so taken aback. I quickly went into fake character one day. Do you remember that?
Yeah. You want to do that again?
Nah,
You sure?
nah, I'm over that.
David, it's not that I had a sheltered life in the 90s. I was 4 when that movie came out. I don't know what you want me to do there, bud. Like,
You could stream it.
yeah, it's one of those things that's hard to go back.
Do you
and
miss
get.
Shane?
I'm up on the show today. No, oh, we already did that. No. Hey, can I just say something real quick?
No. No.
Yeah, I was 4 years old when Boys in the Hood came out. So like, it's like, come on. You get in the late 90s for me. It's a little more my wheelhouse.
And it's okay. Like, I've seen some classics later in life.
Yeah. I mean, you didn't see Godfather until late in life.
Yeah, like
A few years ago.
19 or 20 maybe.
Yeah.
2019, 2020.
Like, that's a bigger miss than Boys in the Hood.
Is it?
Yeah.
Not for no, because I'm not gonna get kicked off our own show, but I'm not gonna put Boys in the Hood and Godfather the same.
Yeah, they're not cinematically, they're not considered in the same. Like,
Who doesn't think of John Scorsese like they do Singleton? Singleton was actually in the movie. He played a mailman. He did a little cameo.
Godfather's not Scorsese. That's Coppola.
Well, him too.
Goodfellas is Scorsese.
Well, one of those.
Like every other mob movie is Scorsese.
What'd you say, Shane?
Martin. It's Martin, not John. Martin.
Hey,
like Lawrence.
How old are you? Can you use a complete sentence?
Martin, not John. It's not John. It's not John. It's Martin.
Martin Scorsese?
Yeah.
And John Singleton.
Yeah.
Well, John Singleton was the guy in Boys in the Hood. I thought that's kind of what I was saying. I was just giving you the names.
Yeah, no, Shane just wasn't paying attention. That's all.
Oh,
it's fine.
I'm shocker.
It's fine. You know, I mean,
too bad we're not in the same room where he could come and he could just look at us before he says anything.
Well, or just start saying while we're saying stuff while we're in the middle of a conversation. At least some people have the courtesy to ask. They're like, "Hey, can I say something?"
No.
And then you get to answer yes or no. People are ready to talk about it. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming next. Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla here at Hurrdat headquarters today. I do kind of like that. Well, I'm an aggressive person, so.
Dude, he's wild. So already, I kind of like. Already, I think he's better talking.
Yeah, I thought so. That was the best we've heard him this year.
Right?
Yeah.
Like already, I think he's because I think when he first got here, I mean, everybody's kind of a product of their experiences and dealing with the media and stuff like that. And so I think we kind of saw that. Just wanted him to kind of ease his way into like dealing with the media. But he was really good yesterday.
Yeah, he was. It was good to hear him talk. I was surprised a little bit that
surprise,
just like that there was.
Have you seen that original?
Yes,
TikTok.
It's wild. It's otherworldly.
Shane, in your former life, you used to be ready for stuff like that, but
surprise.
It's just on that.
It's not as funny when I have to tell you, Shane.
Lifelong 7-second delay.
Man.
No, you're exactly right.
It's that's not John Butler. That's Marcus Satterfield.
To this day.
But now he's just gonna see. What did you? Now he's just gonna go on like a.
I'm sorry.
Got, like,
I like it. I know you don't, so it's my only way to like needle you without really needling you.
I like it when the timing's good and he like has them clever, but then he gets like drop Tourette's and he just starts like hitting the button.
Come on, math.
Hey, so I do have one question before we finish on Butler, since we're talking about
what's that?
Teaching young players and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Like Coach Carter.
Glad you said that. Do you think Coach Butler would spend time watching like movies about black people to relate to players he was coaching? Because you just seem to have skipped over this whole genre of movies in the 90s.
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you.
Did you see Menace to Society?
Nope.
No Poetic Justice. No Above the Rim. No Boys in the Hood. No.
I saw White Men Can't Jump.
That doesn't count.
There is a
Black guy in it.
There is a black guy in that.
Wow.
There is. Am I wrong?
No.
Wesley Snipes is still black, isn't he?
Yeah.
As far as I know.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson's not. Never was.
I saw he was in a clip of mine yesterday.
Woody Harrelson?
In my algorithm. And Micah looked at me because I was taking him on. He goes, you have some weird things. It was like Meet Mr. Toronto or something like that. He was like pretending to be this.
Yeah, I think
I don't know if it's it's not Meet.
No,
Mr.
I think the
Toronto.
movie's Mr. Gray. His name is Mr. Toronto in it, I think. It's a Netflix movie.
I'm gonna guess that none of that is true.
Yeah, well, who it was
I think Toronto is actually in the title.
I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, cause so far this morning kind of over.
Well, who, me?
No, the other dude.
Well, I mean,
The man from Toronto.
the man from
Thank you,
Toronto.
Cam.
Like
Bam.
I said, Mr. Gray.
So Cam and I low key have this connection.
Yeah.
When he used to do a lot of stuff with me, and he was very good at doing this. He could just come in, and then I got spoiled.
Yeah.
And I would try it with Shane, and Shane he can only do two things. It's usually only movies or music.
Yeah.
And older music.
Yeah.
Very good with producers.
Although he didn't give me anything on Billy Joel yesterday.
Yeah, I think so. Full disclosure, like I think part of that was your bad delivery.
No, I sang that perfectly.
No, I
nailed it.
I didn't know it was.
I know that you don't listen to a lot of Billy Joel. Kind of like I don't watch a lot of certain black movies from the 90s. So it's just like a cultural difference there. So I'm not going to tell you that you did a bad impression of our boys in the hood with the you smoke crack, don't you? See, mine's like more of a Mr. T. You could criticize me for that because I haven't seen it, you know?
Yeah.
But I nailed that song.
Don't be babbling like a fool.
That was Mr. T, I think. That was.
I would love to hear you go into character and do that.
I feel like I might get in trouble.
Cut out the jibber jabber.
That's Rocky 3.
Anyway, back to Coach Butler.
Big clever Lang guy.
Relating with the kids. Are you surprised that they are so animate about hiring a DB
Yeah,
coach?
I was because there was. I don't know if it was just my perception or if it was rumors out there, which you got to be careful, as Coach Rhules told us yesterday.
People say a lot of things.
Julie's not pregnant. That's what we learned.
Listen, I had to rewind that. I couldn't believe he went there because we had just talked about that Friday night.
Yeah, I listened to it twice and I was like, what?
Yeah.
So yeah. Also, I just don't know.
People didn't realize what he was talking about.
Yeah.
Like those comments were directed about people getting clicks here.
Mm-hmm.
Here. And this very own state, like the local market that will just say
not in this room.
Just that will say just about anything.
Yep.
For clicks.
Yeah.
That was his point.
And I appreciated the calling out the whole making a profit off of chaos.
Yeah.
And the problem with that, right? Is when there's not any chaos and that's how you make your profit, you make it up. Right? We see it with cable news, right?
Yeah.
Like they make profit off of like chaos and division, regardless of which side of it you're on. And when there's no chaos or division, then they make it so they can continue to make money. That's the problem with that type of business model. Is if you're a weatherman and it's never raining and you can make it rain, you're gonna have a thing or two to say about that. But I did think it was interesting because whether it's rumors or whether it's just my own perception of kind of his personality, which, as we talked about, he seemed different yesterday.
Yeah.
Is I would have guessed that connecting with players and the relational part of the job was something he hadn't gotten through to yet, right? Comes in late, comes in July, hasn't had the opportunity to build relationships, kind of has to just get to the football stuff right away. And so the fact that people in the defensive room had his back the way they did, I was impressed by that.
Yeah, I just kind of watching this evolution. I was talking to Lance yesterday, but it was over text. Is he in the stream? Because yesterday,
Lance?
he was like, "Well, I don't like the whole." I'm glad Coach Lloyd has your back. See, now that you met him,
I thought we were cool, Coach
now
Lloyd.
you guys are cool. No, he does have your back.
I think it was an age thing.
He's a funny dude, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He was an
when
age,
you get him to talk.
And he was I liked he was rocking like a polo vest.
Oh, he's a
I
cool
liked
dude.
that. Yeah,
He's a cool dude.
I like-
Doesn't give you much to,
It was an age thing more than anything for me.
I think it was intentional.
Not on my part. I was a little kid. How am I making those choices? You want to put anything, be like Rose. You got to experience. You gotta expose Ravi to some more culture.
You think Rose has seen like Dangerous Minds?
No, no.
Why is that so laughable? She likes education, right? Big Freedom Riders.
She does like doesn't watch a lot of movies.
Okay.
And if she does, they're like,
you don't have to say it like, haha, you dummy. She wouldn't watch that. Or did I read into how you said that?
I think you might have read into how it's
Cam, is that the vibe you got? That was like, no, you idiot.
maybe. I don't know. Sometimes I just say things in a tone that's not totally intentional.
Yeah, shocker.
But no, she'll watch like old movies.
Mhm.
That's kind of her jam, but she doesn't watch a lot of new movies.
Like stuff with like Judy Garland and people like that.
Maybe not quite that old, but like probably like 60s, 70s is kind of her wheelhouse, like when she was growing up, But she'll watch we used to watch MASH together.
This is a total hot take, and this is not for feedback, but
Like MASH is overrated.
pretty overrated.
I don't have any strong feelings about it, honestly.
Now granted, I was young, so I didn't get it.
Yeah.
But it just didn't. I'm like, why are we watching this? Seriously, there were some of these shows. I'm
not
like,
a big Alan Alda guy. He was Hawkeye.
Yeah, I know. No, he played in a couple of movies.
Yeah, he's been in some other stuff. He's had a long and distinguished career.
Yeah, I wasn't really watching him then.
Yeah, not a big Alan. That's all right. He was in The West Wing, played a presidential candidate.
I was more the sitcom guy in that stretch that like looked like you were in somebody's home.
Like Family Matters.
No, that show sucked.
Cosby Show.
That show was fine.
Yeah, but those types of shows, like you're in somebody's house.
Yeah, I'm more like Different Strokes.
Okay.
Archie Bunker, All in the Family.
All right.
Type deal.
Big Archie Bunker guy.
Surprisingly, yes. Wow.
I was just asking. That's CB. I'm Ravi. We'll be back more Hurrdat Sports Radio. Welcome back. Wrapping up hour number 1 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. We're live on Twitter, Facebook, YouTube. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Shane back at Hurrdat Sports Bar and Grill. Cam here babysitting me and DB and legislating our conversations in the break here. Not a big deal. Although I will say the chat brought up a really good point here.
If it's pro Ravi, then I doubt it.
Yeah, I think those are the only points that I ever bring up. But
there's some truth to that.
Tom, I'm not going to bring up the points that don't help me out, DB.
Sure.
I'm not going to give you the answers to the test. Why would I do that? I'm not as charitable as Samuel L. Jackson in Boys to the Hood.
He didn't play in Boys in the Hood.
What was the one we just watched? What was that movie we just watched?
You do think we all look alike, don't you? We just went over this.
We talked about like 8 different movie names. I lost track.
But only 4 different black people. You can't keep them straight.
We got Cuba. We got Ice Cuba.
Morgan
Cube. Morgan Freeman.
And Samuel Jackson.
Samuel L. Jackson. Oh, I did do it. Shoot.
Yeah. It's fine.
Coach Carter.
It's totally fine.
I did see Coach Carter, though. No, Thomas brings up, he goes, I should ask you if you've ever seen like Slumdog Millionaire.
I have, actually. You and I talked about it the last 2 days, off air.
Have you seen RRR? It's a different Indian movie. Those are the only 2 I know.
No. Are these like mainstream?
So Slumdog
Millionaire was. I watched that.
RRR was released here, but it wasn't. It was not as mainstream as Slumdog.
Do you know what the R's stand for?
I don't. No.
Okay.
It's a good movie though.
Right.
It's kind of like Inglourious
And
Basterds.
that's not necessarily
Indian people.
indicative. Like I haven't seen like Sounder and some of these other movies.
I don't know what Sounder is.
Never mind.
Yeah, I think it's an age thing, not a
Sounder is
cultural.
old for me.
Okay. So have you seen like Gone with the Wind?
No.
Okay, that's
Frankly, Robbie, I don't give a damn. No.
You get the reference though. That's good.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen bits and pieces. That's not my style.
No, mine either.
That's not my style.
You big Sound of Music guy?
I don't like singing.
Oh, okay.
Not in movies.
You like singing.
Yeah, I love to sing.
But you don't like musicals.
No,
That's how Natasha is too. She thinks it's awkward. She's not a
it
fan.
just ruins the flow. You imagine if like Coach Butler just like sang the press conference yesterday.
That'd be kind of funny, actually.
Can you imagine the change in tone and delivery in the pressers with Holgerson and Butler in the rooms now?
Yeah.
Like it will be. I don't know if I said this out loud, but during the National Signing Day show, like off to the side, Dana was like, "I'm like, this is refreshing. This is whatever. Like, cool. It's funny." He is, man. You haven't seen anything yet. Wait till we get good. I just was like, wow. So you're even more forthright than this?
I appreciate that.
T-Mac, I know what he's trying to do. T-Mac is my one black friend representing me. He and Coach Lloyd right now. Although Coach Lloyd kind of threw you a softball, which I didn't appreciate. Defend me, D. Lloyd. No, I have not. I turned off Life of Pi. I thought Life of Pi was literally going to be about a tiger. I felt misled.
To be fair, I haven't seen Life of Pi.
I seriously felt like, and I like tigers. What?
I like turtles.
Is that funny, Cam?
Yes. I like turtles.
Okay.
That's all I heard. I like tigers.
I'm done.
Like Detroit?
I'm done.
LSU?
You've
Is it Detroit or Detroit? Is that a cultural thing?
Oh my gosh.
Or is that like is it like New Orleans or New Orleans?
It's Detroit.
Quit throwing pens at me.
I got it. It's Detroit.
Okay.
And it's
some people say Detroit though.
Sure.
Did I make that up?
No.
Okay.
Detroit and what do I say? I say New Orleans.
Yeah, I'd say New Orleans. But some people say New Orleans. Are you a Caribbean or a Caribbean guy?
Hello.
What would I say? I want to go to I would say Caribbean.
Oh, so you're not like Pirates. So it's like Pirates of the Caribbean, not Pirates of the Caribbean.
I would not say Caribbean.
Okay.
At least I don't.
Are you a Jacobos or Jacobos guy?
I wanted to say something about
our friend.
Yes, but I'm afraid to.
Do it.
Even though Sky Mex is in his name.
He could probably tell us.
It's Jacobos. I just told you that.
No, you said Huckobos. I think it's Yuckobos.
It's Jacobos.
Doesn't the J make a Y sound?
It's It's Jacobos.
What's the J doing there? I mean, I only took a couple years of Spanish, but I was told J equals Y.
Oh,
J equals H now? Man. I don't know what's going on.
Funky Giblets said he thinks the New Orleans thing is more a regional thing.
That's fine.
515 Day wants to know what's going on. I have no idea.
We're just going through a little English class like we're in Boys in the Hood.
Slandering one another.
Because we don't smoke crack.
All this stemmed from delivery at a press conference.
From Life of Pi? Oh, no. Not about tigers.
You didn't think that was going to be about tigers?
I didn't see that movie.
It is about tigers. It's a tiger in a boat. So you're not missing much.
Oh, okay.
You think it was going to be like Tiger Woods? Now, Tiger actually kind of unites our cultures. Part of me, part of you. We meet in the middle. Tiger Woods. Although I think he's from a different part of Asia. Than me, personally. I'm from Omaha, actually.
No, you're exactly right.
I think were you okay? But yeah, I thought John Butler seemed really relaxed at the press conference. I thought he was a lot.
Went to the first.
You seem very hurt.
Kind of black reference you could think of with Tiger Woods.
You were talking about tigers. That was a tiger reference, not a black reference. My first black reference was Samuel L. Jackson. Remember? All the way back in the first segment. I was talking about tigers specifically, not about black people.
It's fine.
He's of
you are so stupid.
He's of multiple places of origin, like most of us are. DB,
right?
It's a melting pot.
Yeah.
I'm just saying. Tiger actually is a very good representation of this show.
Kleenex from my eyes.
Sure. Ooh, I do. I thought I read that wrong. Rashawn said Most Def love y'all chemistry. I thought he was talking about Most Def the actor because I have seen him in stuff. He was in The Italian Job. He was left ear because he was deaf. Most Def is good. I like Most Def. Good rapper too.
So he was he most.
What is that? Your
movie?
olive branch?
Most Def. Here. No, Tiger Woods is my olive branch because he spans both continents. Allegedly. No, I've seen both of his parents. I think that's accurate. You smoke crack, don't you?
I'm done.
You asked me the same.
Oh my goodness.
Somebody said they think the Detroit thing is made up. Some people say
It's from the announcer in the arena when he goes Detroit basketball.
So it did come from somewhere. I didn't make it up.
It came from a brother, so technically.
Well, I didn't know if that.
You're like, is it a cultural thing? Just say black people.
That's a culture.
I know. One in which you try to emulate.
No,
it's fine.
No, I don't think that. I know more than 5 black actors. Michael B. Jordan, that's one. It's another one. We love Michael B. Jordan.
Who said you didn't know more than 5?
TK.
He's probably right.
No, I know lots of black actors.
Well, I'm not going to get into that because I don't know very many.
I couldn't name 5 Indian actors.
Yeah.
Not a chance. And some of the ones that people think are Indian.
Although one of my streaming services has an Indian slant to it.
Which one was that?
We have to talk about it later. So in our stream, we have Fat Bald Jesus.
Is that a guy's name?
Would you call him Jesus?
Well, it depends on what part of the globe he's from. Well, different.
Are you nervous?
Different name.
I am.
I mean, if you want to get, I did go to Bible college, so I can help here a little bit on pronunciation. So like in Israel, what we call Jesus is actually Yeshua, which more closely translates to our English Joshua. But there was some lost in translation from the Hebrew to the Greek to the Latin. So it went from Yeshua, and then we, to Jesus in the Greek and Latin, and then we got Jesus, and then back to Jesus in Spanish. Yeah.
How about that press conference yesterday?
It was good.
I think the guys are ready to play.
I like Sierra Wright, although he makes me a little uncomfortable.
He's different.
He is a little fidgety up there, and I'm like, you fidgeting makes me uncomfortable. Sierra.
Spanish Ravi.
I'm actually not Hispanic, although I do get mistaken for being Hispanic sometimes. Mostly by other Hispanic people, ironically enough. My ex-brother-in-law once, she's from Argentina. He came up to me and he started speaking Spanish, and I just stared at him like deer in the headlights, which ironically my white ex-wife spoke Spanish and had to tell him in Spanish that I don't speak Spanish. And he goes, "What the hell kind of Mexican doesn't speak Spanish?" And I go, "I'm Indian, brother." That's a true story. It's a thing that happened. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. Speaking of Indian people, we got Tim Verghese coming up next. Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio, kicking off hour number 2 here on AM 590 ESPN Omaha. I just need you not to look at me for a second. ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla.
It's usually not this hard.
You're at headquarters.
I can usually get it back. Social media is not helping.
Not helping at all. We'll see if our next guest can help. Tim Verghese from inside Nebraska. Tim, what's going on, man?
Uh-oh.
We don't have audio for Tim. Is that a Tim or is that an us?
That's a me.
There it is.
There we go.
Oh, I like how he said it. He owned it right away. That's a me.
I appreciate that.
See, that's what we need Brian Edwards and those guys to do.
I know. Brian Edwards.
That's totally on me.
Totally on me.
Little Doc Sadler.
What's up, Tim?
TV, good morning, man. How are you?
Hey, not too bad. Not too bad. How about y'all?
Don't mind us. A lot of just immature, a lot of laughing, a lot of giggling. Couple of
what I do.
School-age kids over here just trying to understand 90s movies. TV, I know you haven't been busy, man. So what are you doing? Just kind of closing down the old garden out back? Just winterizing the house. Like,
yeah,
I know you don't have anything to do.
Christmas decorations, just doing the whole thing.
Kind of going through the motions. You know how people do before the holidays, mailing it in a little bit. That's definitely what's happening around here.
Is it weird that with what happened in Missouri and NIL laws and Nebraska being so in the thick of things down the stretch last year, that did this feel like a foregone conclusion to you? Because even back in like September, we were hearing that he didn't want to be in Missouri. He'd rather be in Nebraska. What do you think happened if we backed the train up a little? No.
Yeah, I mean, there's and I think I can say this. I mean, just knowing what I know about Missouri as a program and what they've done, there's an element of the way they use NIL specifically. There's an aspect to their recruiting process and, the negative side of recruiting the way they do, where you can put up a level of money without putting in the effort to build a relationship to the point that you can no longer hold a kid accountable because you've essentially given him enough money to kind of, you it's hard to hold a kid accountable when he's getting paid more than maybe his assistant coaches, Yeah. And it's especially hard when you don't have an established prior relationship. And that's not just a Williams and Nwaneri thing. That's like, I've heard that across multiple recruitments, kids that Missouri didn't even land. It's just, they'll enter the recruitment at the last minute. They'll, offer an NIL deal that blows every other program out of the offer. And sometimes the kid will just be like, you know what, I have a better relationship somewhere else. I'm going to go where I have a better relationship to. We saw that time and time again over this last cycle. And, now you're seeing the ramifications of that, where, the kid is not happy. He leaves after 1 year, and then he goes to a program where he's got, his former high school head coach who did hold him accountable in high school, where he's got, a position coach that knows exactly, how to use a frame like his, and you go to a head coach that, is praised across the board for his ability to build relationships and maintain relationships, and a coaching staff that does a really good job of building and maintaining relationships.
Tim, as you look at Nwaneri and the way that he was
pretty good.
I'm glad
he tried to say it fast, but I appreciate you laying it out there with that softball, Tim, on the proper pronunciation. Even my man Ravi could say it right.
Yeah, if you hadn't, I was going to ask you because we had a whole thing earlier trying to figure out how to say it. But with his lack of playing time and lack of production this year, what do you chalk that up to? Because my initial thought was, okay, well, if this is a guy that knew pretty early he didn't want to be there, maybe it was kind of a self-policing, hey, save my redshirt deal. But I also didn't know kind of what you were talking about. If they weren't able to hold him accountable, weren't able to kind of coach him the way they would want to, that maybe it was more in line with that. Do you have have you been able to get a grasp on what happened this year?
Yeah, it's a little bit of kind of both sides of it. I just think it wasn't an ideal situation for him. I don't think he was as locked in as he probably should have been in the weight room and in practices and things. But again, at the same time, I think if you're wondering why is this going to work out better for Nebraska, it's because the guy that's held him accountable through his high school career, that saw him blow up from a no-name to, by the end of his sophomore year, had a couple offers, and junior year exploded to the number one player in the country. It's Jamar Mosey. Jamar Mosey held him accountable through that high school career, even when he started to blow up, even, like you saw consistent effort from him. You saw really impressive, the physical tools all come together for him. I think if you're wondering why this is going to work out for Nebraska, it's because Jamar Mosey's on staff. And also I think this coaching staff does a really good job of holding guys accountable and not playing guys just because the stars next to their name. We've seen that time and time again. Malachi Coleman, we saw it with Ari Gilbert, and even MJ Sherman to an extent of those snaps had to be earned. Even though you're a 5-star transfer, those things have to be earned. And so for Nebraska, there's plenty of competition on the D line. I think there's an opportunity for him to come in and earn some pretty early playing time. And again, again, not to take away from who he is. If you look at the talent, that's a kid with limitless potential. He was the number one defensive lineman in the country last cycle for a reason. He's got unique tools, unique length, unique athleticism for the size. That's a guy again, if he puts it all together, that's a future first-round pick.
Tim, when you're taking a look at you mentioned something kind of just in passing where there'll be enough competition. You're not one of those guys that's panicking along the front right now as you're looking at Nebraska's current roster.
No, not really. I mean, you think about who they have right now, and I expect them to add, another depth piece or two in the portal, maybe even something higher. But as of now, especially with Keona Davis returning, you kind of feel good about the future of that room, especially the top end of that depth. You have to build out some depth a little bit, but you take Elijah Judy, you take Keona Davis, you take Riley Van Poppel, you take the 3 freshmen coming in, you take Williams and Nwaneri coming in. You take, Willis McGahee, a second year there, kind of moving into that pass rusher, outside linebacker type role. I think this is a room that still has plenty of potential. And, especially as these young guys continue to develop, I think they're going to keep getting better, and I think there's some guys in that room too that are overlooked a little bit, that specifically as space eaters, I think can occupy that middle of the defense.
Tim, I know that you had some insight on Nwaneri long before he blew up, so you've been looking at his tape for a long time. What if this works out for Nebraska? What's the upside there? Like, what are they potentially getting?
I mean, you're looking at a guy that can play all over the D line. That you can kind of put him out hypothetically on an island as like a 7 to 9 tech, and he can completely crash his side, the side of the defense he's on. He's a guy that at his size can rush off the edge, can add, to 30, 40 plus pounds and move inside and be equally effective. You're looking at a guy that's a mainstay along the defensive line, that has, it's like, more explosive than Ty Robinson, has that, aggressiveness to kind of crash pretty quickly. And then you're looking at a guy too that, for his length, occupies a ton of space in the run game, can kind of silence the run game wherever he's placed on the field. I kind of hinted at it yesterday, kind of writing about him. But I think, bringing in a guy with experience with the Chiefs, experience with Chris Jones is perfect for, his talent, because he's a guy that can be effective from the inside. But I think right now his natural tools are better at defensive end. And we saw the Chiefs kind of move Chris Jones all around and kind of use him as the defensive end recently to kind of get the most out of him and maximize his talent. I think you're going to see something similar with him where, they can kind of put Nwaneri on his own and then maybe stack the defense on the other side and make Nwaneri kind of, eat up 2-3 blocks, and he can still beat those.
So, Tim, let me ask you something. As I'm looking at how Nebraska could potentially put this staff together, both philosophically and the functionality of it, depending on the defensive backs coach hire, which they'll get done here pretty soon, and the pending formalization of Coach Snow. On December 23rd, when we get on that plane to go to New York, is Nebraska's staff on the defensive side more formidable on paper than it was on November 23rd?
Ooh, potentially, only because the way I would see it is I think this is a unit that, factoring in Phil Snow, factoring in the secondary coach, and all of that, I think you're going to see a defensive I think coaching staff that is more adaptable, I guess is the best way to put it. Like that can shift schematically, that can shift personnel wise, that is willing to kind of be fluid and match the personnel across the field. They're not going to, I don't think they're going to live out of one specific formation anymore. I don't think you're going to see a base anymore. I think they're going to play more multiple. I think the most base you're going to see is, I think pretty consistently, you're going to see 5 DBs out there. I think that's going to be a big thing, against some of these run heavy teams like the Iowas of the world, like the Northwesterns, et cetera. I think you're going to see more of that 3-4 potentially. I think you're going to see, more stacked boxes. But long term, you look at what this roster is going to be. I think you're going to, and specifically what this defense is going to be. I think listening to John Butler yesterday and his vision for this and the staff put together, I think it says a lot that they hired a true outside linebackers coach. I think it says a lot about what they're trying to get to moving forward, where you're going to see more penny fronts. You're going to see more 3 down linemen, 2 outside linebackers, 1 inside linebacker. You're going to see 2 down linemen, 2 outside linebackers, 2 inside linebackers. I think there's an idea where long term, Nebraska is going to be able to be a lot more multiple and present a lot of different, throw a lot of more different things at offenses than they have in the past 2 years, as creative as Tony White's been.
It's interesting. Because I agree with you. I said to Ravi a couple of days ago, I said, we just, depending on whether the fan base or like we want a guy here or not, depends on how heavily scrutinized he is. And I said, Simpson comes and he's announced as the outside linebacker and nobody bats an eye at it, right? Like, oh, now we're going to have an inside guy and an outside guy, or what about DeVore? There was none of that. It was just, oh, we want Phil Simpson. He's a really good recruiter. I think he can teach. So I do think that's a good distinction on your point. The other thing is, I asked Coach Rhule, this was probably about a week ago, like what he was looking for and a defensive coordinator. And I was throwing out different suggestions in terms of fronts and style. And he looked at me. He said, you know what I want? And I said, what's that? And he said, I want an answer guy. Like, as if to say, I want a guy that can provide answers when we need one to get stops. I felt like that summation was pretty interesting, but telling, especially now that I see how he's putting the staff together. They will probably have the ability, TV, to be multiple.
Yeah, like I think that's the thing. When you look around and you ask people, what are you looking for in a defensive coordinator? What are you looking for in, just a position coach in general? A lot of people immediately go to, okay, I want him to run this. I want him to run this. In this day and age, it's not about what you run. It's how, again, like what answers do you have? Are you able to counter? And especially in this league, in this conference right now, can you counter all the different looks you're going to see? Because 1 week you're going to see an Iowa team that's going to try and throw the ball on you 10 to 15 times a week, or 10 to 15 times a game. And then other weeks you're going to get a Michigan that has now Bryce Underwood under center, the number 1 quarterback in the country. And then you're going to play, if you want to get to the top of this league, you have to play, the Oregons and the Ohio States, where you have to be able to match up personnel-wise to counter some of the best receivers in the country. So you're all of a sudden, you're going from, you have all these different matchups within your conference, and to get to the point where you want to get to as a program, you need an answers guy. You need a guy that can, okay, I don't care how we get it done, get us off the field on 3rd down. I don't care how it gets done, get us off the field with as limited points as possible in the red zone. Like, that's all you're looking for nowadays. And you're looking for a coach that can give you those answers and is willing to be flexible with his personnel to help find those answers, rather than someone that's like, oh, no, I'm a 3-3-5 guy or I'm a 4-2-5 guy, and we're going to go down with this ship whether it works or not. Like, we're running the 3-3-5, we're running the 4-2-5, no matter what.
We're talking with Tim Verghese inside Nebraska. Tim, want to go back to transfers here for a second. You mentioned wide receivers. Is that a place? Obviously, Dane Key's gotten a lot of attention with the move of Coach Schwartz over to Nebraska. Is that a place where you expect them to get some visitors in? I know Key, I think, is supposed to be in this week, right?
Yeah, they're working to get a couple guys in. Key's one for sure. I think you're going to see a couple others kind of start to filter in here over the next week or so. Eric Rivers is supposed to be in town this weekend as well from FIU. That's another kind of like a slot guy that can line up all over the offense as well and produce. I'm interested to see what Nebraska does. I'll say this. Since Schwartz has gotten here, I've gotten everyone I know that I've talked to that has been in the know with Schwartz down in Texas consider him one of the better recruiters in the country. They say his ability to build relationships is pretty understated. When you go back and look at some of the wins he had at Houston, 2 of the biggest wins he had were Matthew Golden and Jonah Wilson. Matthew Golden, a guy that now is starting at Texas. We just saw him light it up against Georgia last week. Matthew Golden was committed to TCU, and they were able to flip him away from TCU to keep him home in Houston. And then despite a late push from Texas, they were able to hold on to him. Same with Jonah Wilson, who had the exact same thing happen. Texas made a late run at him, and Houston was able to hold on. And it was because, for both of those guys, the relationships they had with DeKel Schwartz. So Schwartz now is going to try and work that magic with Key, kind of bring him along. Rivers as well. But I also think there's going to be 3-4 other names that make it into town. I've seen some speculation about Deuce Robinson. I'll have to see it to believe it there. From what I've heard, there's a bit of a package deal type situation with him and Miller Moss. I think wherever Miller Butler lands is going to be the favorite to land. Deuce Robinson as well. But Dylan Raiola does have that relationship. I think if Nebraska can get him in town, they'd like to. That's one of the few mismatches, true mismatches just from a size standpoint that you can find in college football today. And he's a guy that would drastically change this offense.
So TV as it stands on whatever today is, December 13th, that 105 number looks a lot easier to get to than maybe we might have first thought a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, somewhat. It also depends on what they add in the portal and, kind of what other departures happen, and people were asking like, are we going to see a bunch of these guys enter the transfer portal still? I think there's a chance, some of these guys just disappear off the roster kind of unceremoniously. They just either become students or they'll just, move on from the program, or move on from football specifically, and not really formally enter the transfer portal. So I'm interested to see kind of how these last few numbers shake themselves out. But yeah, I think this number is a lot it's a lot more manageable at this point than it was, I kind of looked, before we got into this whole transfer circus, I guess.
Tim, a couple other places, speaking of transfers, looks like Nebraska is trying to bring some guys in. We mentioned Nwaneri on the defensive line. I imagine you mentioned a couple other pieces they might try and get there. It sounds like they're trying to get some offensive linemen in as well.
Yeah, I think so. They obviously had the Dominic Gidice. I don't know how to say his last name, but from Michigan this last week. I think they're going to get a couple more here in, and I don't really know exactly the ceiling of what Nebraska is going to be able to get in terms of, can you get starting caliber, Big Ten starting caliber level tackle play out of the portal? I don't know. That's tough. That's always going to be tough to get. But I do think Nebraska is going to be able to find some at least interior depth, if not interior starting quality players in the portal. I think that's the biggest thing, is just at the very least address depth, because you hypothetically have bodies at both tackle spots. You hypothetically have bodies along the interior, and you like the progression of the room under Donovan Raiola, but they lack experience right now. And I think they would like to get some of that if they can.
So TV got to hear from a couple players yesterday, and in particular guys like Sierra Wright talk about the back end and Coach Butler and some of the young, just in its totality. How do you look at evaluating what players say about their current situation in terms of how much you can take away? Like the validity isn't the word, but it's like, oh, this player thinks this. I wonder if he's alone. Is this kind of the bulk of what his position group thinks? Like, how do you know or get a good feel when you hear a player speak broadly or generally about coaches in their position group?
I think you just look at the feeling, you look at the room, I think it says a lot, that, Sierra Wright is talking about the unit and, has grown into the leader he has this year, and is talking about, hey, we kind of wanted Butler to get this. And then you look in the secondary, they haven't really lost a whole lot of guys. They've been able to keep a lot of that unit together. I think there's a reason, beyond what Sierra Wright says, I think there's a reason Amari Sanders is so locked in. I think there's a reason Larry Tarver's locked in. I think there's a reason some of these guys are as locked in as they are. And it's because of their faith in Butler. And, you listen to others on the, Cam Leonard said the same thing, and you listen to those guys talk. I think specifically Cam and Sierra have kind of emerged as leaders within their position groups, and they won't say anything out of turn. I think that's part of the culture that's been built here at Nebraska under Matt Rhule. I think that's part of it is these guys don't speak out of turn necessarily. When they speak for the group, it's because they vetted the group.
Tim, do you find it kind of strange at all the apprehension about the job that Butler did this year? I can understand, maybe he doesn't have a ton of experience as an actual defensive coordinator, so maybe you have some questions there, but it seems like the reason most people, if they aren't excited about the hire, is they point to the play of the defensive backs, but they don't really put that in context of losing a couple guys to the NFL from last year, not having healthy corners for much of the year, and a ton of guys playing out of position. Like, do you share a concern for the play of the defensive backs when it comes to the way John Butler performed this year?
No, I kind of thought this year was a wash in terms of the secondary and specifically judging John Butler. I said it before the hire, when they were assessing hires, I felt like an internal promotion would be a little underwhelming, but I don't think it's necessarily the wrong process. I just think it's more so just you had an opportunity to potentially make a splash, and when you were losing guys to the portal, kind of land a sitting Power 5 defensive coordinator and have him bring some talent along. Was an opportunity for Nebraska, but at the same time, I completely understand why it's Butler. And like you said, I don't share those concerns about the play this year. One, because like you said, a bunch of people playing out of position. I think if you were to ask them, they would have liked, some of the young guys in the secondary, specifically in the back end of the secondary, to be ready earlier. They just weren't because they were literally freshmen. And then I think, losing 2 NFL players, potentially 3 technically if you consider Phelan Sanford, from the secondary, plus factor in the fact that Tommy Hill, another future NFL player, was barely healthy this season. Like, it's tough to replace that type of talent when what's behind there are kind of veterans that know what they're doing from a mental standpoint, but physically, we talked about it all year. They were at an athletic disadvantage in the back end of the secondary. Like, there was an athletic gap between Deshaun Singleton, Isaac Gifford, and Malcolm Hartzog specifically, and some of the guys they were asked to cover down the stretch of the season. So, I think moving forward, you're going to see Butler's room kind of come into his own vision. I think you're going to see, personnel, maybe even as soon as the bowl game, start to look more like what he wants it to do. Whereas this was a room that he inherited like a couple weeks before the season and essentially had to play with the seniors and the veterans because that's the best shot Nebraska had this year.
That's Tim Verghese from Inside Nebraska. Tim, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you again soon.
Appreciate y'all.
More Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next. Halfway through the show here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities. That's DB. I'm Ravi. Lulla. It's time for Hitting the Road with MH Hospitality. MH Hospitality, stay here once, make memories forever. Check out mhhospitality.net. DB, Los Angeles, the Rams, they went on the road last night. They hurt my 49ers feelings. I'm not a big fan about that.
Yeah, that's where we're going with this.
Well, there's a couple places I want to go with this because that was, first of all, a hideous football game, just in general, start to finish.
Yeah, optics.
Yeah, like just not a good football game to watch.
Did you know it was over when they threw the pick?
I knew. I mean,
5:34 to play. They just turned it over.
Well, that was the last nail in the coffin. There was plenty of dirt on the coffin before that. I don't know. The whole Debo thing was super weird to me because he kind of complains about not getting the ball enough, and then they sort of force feed him, and it's like this isn't really working. It was very, very strange. It almost felt like Kyle Shanahan was like, "Hey, I know this season's sort of a wash, so I'm gonna do this." It almost felt like he was trolling Debo. It felt like he was trying to prove a point. Am I crazy? Am I the only one that took it that way?
No.
Am I too deep in this?
No, I think you're right.
It was weird. I don't know. That did not feel like a very Kyle Shanahan game plan. I know that they have injuries all over the place. I wasn't really expecting anything from this 49ers team or season. But I'm just sitting there. I go, okay, you got Debo complaining about stuff. And then all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're just going to throw you the ball every time. Good luck, bud.
It
was weird.
Not to be dismissive of the Rams and the Niners, but I kind of like to go off the clips that we came back with.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just kind of. Yeah, I mean,
I don't control what clips we come back with.
I thought it was interesting when he talked about. I don't know what to tell you about Shanahan and Debo. I'm gonna have to probably give that some thought.
I mean, just think about it because it bothered me.
Yeah,
I don't know what to do with Debo. I feel like he's a diva.
I think that's kind of a personal thing.
Me and Debo?
Yeah. I don't know about the rest of our 7 listeners, so that might be an isolated thing.
Maybe.
One thing I did think was interesting that he said yesterday was we talked all season long about, kind of Butler making the outward announcement early. Hey, I don't have time to be invested in personalities and personal lives and this, that, and the other. I thought it was interesting that yesterday, Coach Rhule reiterated what he felt like some of the struggles were early without necessarily calling it a struggle.
Yeah.
Right. Because, we talk all the time and about they teased you, right? They were just good enough to say, okay, let's hang in there, even though you felt like you may be taking on a little water.
Sure.
We probably said that for, I don't know, 7-8 weeks with the back. And I know people would get frustrated. I'm like, hey, listen, if anybody's frustrated, it's probably me, right? But
yeah,
I do understand that they're close and you're trying to get by. So to hear him
close enough that you don't want to make wholesale changes.
But to hear him say what he said yesterday lets me know that he's neither deaf, dumb, nor blind, right? Like he's very cognizant of what was going on. That was my takeaway. It isn't that he talked about the young guys. It was he's well aware of what the issues were.
Yeah.
Right. He had to invest in the older guys early because you got to get right.
Well, even more than investing in
I thought that was pretty.
I took it even more than investing in the older guys, that he had to be invested in just figuring out what was going on. Like what
is going on?
You know, obviously just learning the system, learning the verbiage and everything to get into a place where he actually could coach the defensive backs. And then I took it to like, hey, here are the older guys. These are the guys that have played. Let's just start with that, more so than he was intentionally investing in the older guys. He was just investing in the guys that were already there. And then when he finally could take a step back in the second bye, like Coach Rhules was talking about, and be like, okay, what else do we have here? I took it as he finally felt like he had gotten his head far enough above water that he could take a second to look around. And that's a fair point. We've tried to bring up the July hiring a couple times because I think people look at it as an excuse. I don't know how they did it at all. Like that's a position that is, it's unbelievable they were able to pull it off at all.
Yeah, and I like the fact that you at least broached the topic of this excuse, right? Because remember, the difference between an excuse and an explanation is ownership. Like he's telling you what happened.
Yeah,
right. And he's seeing it the whole way. I just know that there were conversations earlier in the season where he would say things like, secondary, that expertise behind that front is just not my thing right now. Like it needs a touch. It needs a touch. Right. So you could sense kind of the chemistry and the camaraderie that was going on the back end. And for all the innuendos and, don't believe everything you read about snow this and snow that and too many cooks in the kitchen. Like that wasn't it. It just wasn't it. When you're used to doing things, like he mentioned red zone defense. I was so glad he brought it up because I go back to the Illinois game on a couple of communication things and then switching communication twice against Ohio State, playing a cat and mouse game where a year ago you play those things the exact same way because you know the guy. You know the coverages that they want to play behind it because you're familiar with the guy that you had there. It's probably the number one reason that Coach White goes and gets Coach Coop to go to Florida State because he knows how that secondary is going to fit and play behind his fronts. There's just a process when you want a game plan. The downside to game planning and being multiple is you have to be able to do it on the fly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not always playing to guys' strengths. And I'm not necessarily getting into whether this guy is smart or this guy is not. It's how much do I need to know ahead of time for you to get the best version of me?
Yeah. Well, and guys have different skill sets, right?
They just do.
Yeah.
So I'm not big into because this is what you hear now. Right. I was having this conversation with Lance. It's like, wow, for all the endearing he had with Coach Coop, endearment he had for Coach Coop, and like a lot of those DBs, and I'm like, aren't X, Y, and Z, and I'm like, well, that's not really it, right? It's like if you're gonna play kind of this mugging, it depends on the style you want to play. That's the guys that they went to go get.
You're right.
Like some guys are off man guys, some guys are bail technique guys, some guys.
Even more simplistically, some guys are better in zone, some guys are better in man-to-man.
Yeah, at its core.
Yeah,
at its simplest.
Yeah,
that's better said. So that takes a little time to play it differently, right? Like Revis was only going to play one way,
right? Yeah.
Right. And he talked about how when he went to New England, like even though he was a little older, it took some convincing because of the schematics of how they like to play before he got there. Right. So, I mean, and that's even at the pro level.
Yeah. At the highest level of the pro level, right?
Of a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Revis is like an all-timer.
Right. So like those kinds of little things matter. So I thought that was pretty good insight.
And correct me if I'm wrong here, but Cooper likes playing dramatically more man-to-man than Butler does, right?
100%.
So that, like, again, at its foundation, right? Because even within man-to-man, there's different styles of how you want to play that, right? But at its foundation, Butler probably leans a little bit more zone, kind of playing that shell that you see in the NFL.
And there's this technique that he likes to play. It's called slice, where it takes some communication.
And then
because there are some options.
And then you've got a bunch of guys that were recruited and have been coached for the last year and a half to play this hyper aggressive mugging man.
Yeah.
And like there's some natural conflict there, right? That's a thing that, again, is an explanation or is an excuse. We'll see based on how ownership is taken over the next, however many months.
Yeah, 100%.
That's CB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We will be back with more Hurrdat Sports Radio coming up next.
Welcome back. It is Hurrdat Sports Radio. That's my main man, Ravi Lulla. Good morning, Ravi.
What's up, bud?
How are you?
I'm doing good.
We are at headquarters. If it sounds any different, very unapologetic about that.
It looks a little different.
Shane is back in his little Woodstock. That was Snoopy's bird, right?
Yeah.
Woodstock.
Yeah.
Back in his little birdhouse on the 1s and 2s. And we got
come on, Shane.
KB, who you can see his nice little mug shot if you're in the people that are in the studio chat. Cam is the guy at the top that is the only one with an actual picture. He's called the host. So we like Cam. Good morning, Cam.
Yeah, we love Cam.
Yeah. So you know what else you'd love is because you're a part of what I do. Is Game Day Men's Health.
Oh yeah.
I mean, it's fantastic. And for you guys, you guys know how I am I'm very particular and I like to be efficient and a little OCD. Listen, Game Day Men's Health, they do it all. I am so happy. My levels are coming back. I was in and out, and both of us got done within the hour.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, I'm already kind of uncomfortable in public a little bit, but it's pretty warm. It's extremely funny, especially for what it is, whether it's peptides or testosterone, or you maybe want to do weight loss. You could do Botox. No, how my eyebrows looking. Would you put? It
depends on where you need it. I think you can do above the eyebrow. I think
I don't know
a little bit. We could ask him.
My eyebrows are a mess, but make sure you stop on out and see the folks at Game Day Men's Health. I was talking to a couple guys on our staff.
Yeah,
they're going to give them a visit. People, our man John is out there. They're good.
They are good. You can go to GameDayMen'sHealth.com to schedule a consultation. Yeah, the way your coaching staff works, you probably need a little bit more energy over there. So you guys are nuts.
Just seen my good morning text. Jernigan and Brett. I mean, those guys just not kind of. I told Journey, I said, aren't you supposed to be in Council Bluffs? Big wrestling meet today.
A lot of wrestling today?
Yeah, big wrestling guy.
Getting after a little bit?
Yes.
We like wrestling.
It's just the three of us. So it's me, Brett, and Journey. It's been a rough week, but on a positive note, I don't need bail money and I don't have any bodies to hide. Good morning, fellas. Right? Like,
yeah, what are we on?
I just think it's cool that men can say good morning to one another.
No, it's good. That's what I like about Shane. He says good morning to us every day.
Yeah, when he's not just staring.
He does kind of creep on us a little bit.
It's kind of weird.
He does this, I think you called him the Mr. Deeds Butler yesterday.
Yeah, you look
you.
away and he's like standing right next to you. And it's like, how'd you get here? The interesting message from my man Dave. Had fight can write. He's doing work for SI. He's everywhere. This is in response to when I said, silly season is among us, and Coach Rhule. I said a lot of people make money off the chaos of Nebraska football. Like, be careful what you listen to. And I said this needed to be said. And a lot of those guys know who he's talking to and about, and don't need to really get into that. But Dave says there's so much in that quote. People trying to griff off the program. Media literacy within the fan base. The sad reality that drama and chaos have been the only constants for 20 plus years. The line between reporting, comment, and exploiting. It's all fascinating stuff. And in this immediate world of like, where you can hop on a pod or
Send
go
out
to
a tweet,
TikTok
whatever.
or go to send out a tweet. Like
Yep.
it is, and just the way that we consume information so fast. It's, you just would think people that are familiar with the program and would just have more responsibility or feel more responsible. But at the end of the day, that stuff shows its true colors.
I definitely agree with you there. I do think, and this is going to sound like defending, and I don't really mean it to, because I agree with you. Like, there's people that are irresponsible about the way they talk about things.
It's going to sound like defending, Cam, but I don't really mean it to.
I don't. There's people out there that are irresponsible about the way they talk about the program, about the way they talk about a lot of things, to be fair. It's not generally specific to Nebraska football, but that's where people know them from. It is really challenging in a place where there is an entire economy around a football program, and that football program hasn't won. You still are trying to have a business around a football program, right?
Well, so is that
And so
like
what are your other options?
If you're like, well, if you'd win, we talk about winning.
Which they wouldn't, right? To be fair.
You don't think so?
No, they're still going to talk about the chaos and the dissension and whatever, because again, it creates clicks.
Yeah.
And especially at this point, right? If Nebraska had been winning the whole time, then maybe we would just talk about the winning. But we've seen it at Alabama. We see it at Georgia. We see it everywhere, right? All of these highly successful programs, you slip even a little bit, or there's chaos going on behind the scenes or whatever, and they focus on the chaos, or they make up chaos because it's sexy and whatever the case is. And it generates clicks, right? People in this industry sometimes don't believe that other people want to read positive things or happy things. And I think they're wrong. Now you get more engagement, you get more outrage. It's easier to get people to engage with negativity, right? But I deep down, because it creates an immediate emotional reaction.
Do I agree with that?
That's what I mean, the way the entire media landscape has shifted would tend to agree with me. But I think there is an immediate emotional reaction to negativity. Whereas positivity, I think you're talking about a short-term impact versus a long-term impact. If you want,
so it's easier to talk about Emmett Johnson and Davis on the way out than on the way back in.
100%. But on the way back in is the more interesting story, I think. And long-term,
I kind of vibe with you, because what did I hear? Like, I got this question a ton last night speaking. It was like, well, what was it financial? No. It was.
Again, that's the sexy, we had to pay him off.
I said, you know what? This is going to blow your mind. I think this had a lot to do with my bad. That's on me. Not my bad. I hate my bad. I'm sorry. This is not what I meant. This is how I really feel. I know it didn't play out the way X, Y, and Z. Are we good?
Yeah, just communication.
Yeah, we're good. I just needed to know that you value, and it's strange because I say this sometimes all the time, which is why I'm such a coward in growing relationships, is because of my capacity to care. But in return, sometimes I want to know people care about me too.
Yeah.
Right. And so when those levels don't match, then I have this weird way of like, I can totally buffer and maneuver that thing. So
that's part of the reason I cut people off. Like if I don't feel a reciprocation, I'm not going to waste my time and energy.
Yeah, I'm not quite there yet.
Right. But that's why I do it.
So I think with guys like that, sometimes just knowing that they matter is really all that matters.
That's all you need.
That's why,
that's all most people need.
Guys don't have to ask for anything.
Yeah.
It's not.
Like if you're a low maintenance guy like Emmett Johnson, right? We've said it a million times. Super low maintenance. You don't have to worry about him.
Just value the relationship.
What's the one thing that low maintenance guys still want?
Value. They know that you care.
To feel valued.
Yeah.
Right? That's all. Right? So if you're looking at Emmett Johnson.
Because if you do, then they don't have to go out and test their worth.
Yeah, because then they're good.
Because that's the difference.
Because every single person, no matter high or low maintenance you are, wants to feel valued. Right? If you're a low maintenance person and you feel valued where you're at, you're good. If you're a high maintenance person, you'll get mad about something else.
Do you remember some of the key things that I told you that I thought you were going to need to function at a high level in college? One of the things that I would say, this goes back for a long time. I said, you have to be okay with people not talking to you every day and know that you're all right.
And still know they care.
Yeah.
right?
That it's just you can't get everybody.
And those are the best friendships too, right? Like you could go however long without talking to somebody.
Yeah.
You send them a text. If they're a good friend, boom, it's like you fall right back in it.
That's Dumas.
Like that is
It's Veland.
like me and my buddy Evan, right? Sometimes we go through stretches where we talk a ton. Sometimes we go a little bit longer. We don't see each other a lot than we do. It's all the same. He knows I care about him. I know he cares about me. It's all the same.
I don't know if it's hokey or corny, but I just think I don't know why I think that's what's going to grow legs going forward in college football. We're going to make it transactional, but the transactional thing will balance out.
Mhm.
We just have to ride the wave this next 7-8 months.
Mhm.
Let the rosters get down. Let the budget, the spending level. And then you're going to get back to what it's really about. It's still going to be about coaching and development, and the teams that are the most tight knit.
We already saw this happen in college basketball.
Well, I think it's happening in football. Like
Yeah.
the favorites for me are the teams that I think are the closest. That's why I like
That's why I like-
Oregon,
that's why I like
Georgia,
Notre Dame.
and Notre Dame.
Yep.
If there's
Georgia worries me because of the quarterback, but that's a different thing.
that's different.
Yeah,
but
that's a practical thing.
but that's a close knit group.
100%.
That's a close knit group.
But those are the guys. That's why I'm riding with Notre Dame. Like I like Notre Dame.
My
in this
fourth.
playoff.
My fourth is the one that I haven't liked all year.
Who's that?
Penn State.
Oh yeah, Yeah.
Because I just think they're cohesive. I don't know if they're good enough,
that's the problem.
like
Talent-wise, you don't-
explosive
yeah.
enough.
You don't know if they have the talent for the cohesiveness
Yeah.
to matter, but they would fall into that group in terms of.
Those would be that's the 4 teams for me in that order of the 12.
We already saw this course correction happen in college basketball, right? When the one and done came in, it became this phenomenon. You had the Calipari's of the world. You had Duke turn that direction, and then
What's his name again?
Calipari?
Perry.
I don't know.
It's Perry Spin.
I don't know what's happening here. Oh, you're a fencer.
No, I'm offended.
Oh, by Calipari? Not a big Arkansas guy? I was going back to the Memphis days.
Yeah.
But you had Calipari.
I forgot
dude.
about those.
I know, right? But that's where he started it, right?
Yeah.
He started with the one and dones at Memphis with Derrick Rose.
Yeah.
You had the Calipari days. Then Krzyzewski starts doing it. North Carolina dabbles for a little bit. Kansas has its moment. But guess what? What did Kansas's national title team look like? Not a lot of one and dones on that team.
I know.
What did North Carolina's title team look like?
Right
What did
there.
the Villanova title teams look like?
Like Carolina
What did
could
the
win with
UConn
they
title
could
teams
win
look
with
like?
McCants Forte, right? It just
Yeah.
I mean, I get it.
What of the UConn title
But
teams
you
look
do
like?
need a good enough talent level.
Yeah, you have to have the ceiling, but what is the commonality out of, most of the last 10 years of college basketball national champions?
A higher floor.
Higher floor, older guys, and cohesiveness, right? Guys that have been in the program a couple years. That's, I think we're going to see. It's a different reason, but college basketball became very transactional for a moment there. Still is to a certain degree, but the teams that were cohesive and together figured it out and won national championships. I think we're going to see the same balancing of power in college football as well, where the transactional side of things gets evened out by the cohesive side of
because
things.
coaches, they've had it.
Yeah, absolutely. That is DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be back with Mike Sautter here on Hurrdat Sports Radio. Kicking off hour number 3 here on Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We're joined now by Mike Sautter from Hurrdat Sports and NAB Preps. What's up, Mike?
Why you guys sit down just for me?
Oh, hi, Jerome. I'm going to go back to standing.
I'm just leaning. See, I'm standing.
I like the standing. It feels like you're ready to get all,
Hey, so, Jerome, you're a little squirrely already this morning. Are we less intimidating when we're far away, or you just feel like you had your spinach this morning?
No, he's trying to be nice because I slapped his hand yesterday. He texted some
What happened?
He texted some wild stuff to me and Padilla at the end of that 49ers game because he's like desperately panicking.
Seeking Susan?
No, he's trying to get off of this Aaron Rodgers contract, and he goes, oh man, you might have to get rid of Purdy and trade for Aaron Rodgers. I go, did you suffer some kind of head injury? What's wrong with you?
I
like the sweatshirt too, man. That's one of my favorites. It's got the right cloth.
This sweatshirt?
Yes.
Yeah, it's nice. It's the one that I just keep in my office and just throw it on when I got to do stuff like this.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
So are you feeling better after like you firing off nonsense last night? You okay now? You get out of your system?
No, yeah, I still feel I mean, Brock Purdy's probably gone as a 49er, I would imagine, because they're not going to spend the money on him. I do think there's some weird, wild world where Aaron Rodgers could be a 49er next year. I don't know.
So you don't think they're going to pay Brock Purdy? You think they're going to pay a 49-year-old Achilles busted up, washed up ass Aaron Rodgers?
49, huh?
Yeah. He's like, so that's where you think they're going to spend the money?
Well, it would only be 1 year, so you just have that 1 year, and the Jets are desperate to get out of that contract, I think. So,
well, you only have the 1 year too, Mike, so it's okay. You'll just eat that money.
We're probably just gonna stick with Aaron Rodgers for another year, and I think
he also threw out Sam Darnold. Like, oh, they're gonna go get Sam. If they had Sam Darnold last year, Mike, if they wanted Sam Darnold, they'd have kept him.
You think Brock Purdy's the answer at quarterback for the 49ers?
He's the answer right now.
No, I mean long term.
You know they went to a Super Bowl last year, right?
Yeah, long-term answer for the 49ers.
When's the last time the Jets were in a Super Bowl?
Super Bowl III, thank you very much. They won it.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, Super Bowl III they won. But I'm just saying, I don't know. Wouldn't they have already paid him if he was the long-term answer?
No, they're unlike some of these other Yahoo organizations that are paying Jordan Love after 3 good halves. Like they're going to pay him when they need to.
Well, DeAndre Campbell decided not to show up and play. Devondre Campbell decided not to play, so
that's why he's not getting paid. He's not going to get paid by anybody to play football probably ever again.
Yeah, that was funny.
I mean, quitting on your team is a tough look. Like you're probably not getting paid after that by anybody.
So that's the thing, right? You're going to have to be exceptional for people to look over the fact that you're a bad teammate.
And considering most people had never heard of Devondre Campbell until last night for not playing football, my guess is he's not exceptional.
Hey, so Jerome, before considering your government has Jerome in it, it implies a little bit of culture. Have you seen Lean on Me?
Oh yeah, Morgan Freeman. Yeah,
yes,
the best part of that movie is when he is it Sam's when he has him come up and goes, Sam's, boy, get up here and sing. Like sings a song is the best.
Oh, the bathroom, aren't you my little songbirds?
Yeah, that part.
Yeah, and so you do know that Morgan Freeman is not Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah. Wait.
Have you seen Coach Carter?
Hold on. So
no. Hang on.
Okay.
Have you seen Coach Carter?
I know Coach Carter is a movie, and that was not Morgan Freeman. It was Samuel L. Jackson.
Have you seen Boys in the Hood?
A lot. So, story about Boys in the Hood. My brother and I, when I was in middle school, one summer, the VHS tape, we watched White Men Can't Jump or Boys in the Hood every day.
Can I just ask, what tied White Men Can't Jump and Boys in the Hood together just now?
I don't know. It just was. Every time I hear Boys in the Hood, I just think to that summer where we just watched it every single day.
So this ding dong earlier, and I know you were still asleep. I was talking about Boys in the Hood. I told him he probably didn't watch movies in the 90s, this, that, and the other. We got into some cultural references, and he goes, well, I did see White Men Can't Jump. And I go, that doesn't count. And he said, well, it had a black guy in it.
I was talking about eras.
You just seamlessly weave those two together.
I was talking about eras of movies. I don't know. You made it a black-white thing, not me. I don't.
Now would I do that?
I'm just saying, you're gonna let Sauter's impersonation of Morgan Freeman go? You're just gonna let that slide right on by?
I did gloss over that.
You just slid right on by. Well,
so how did that sound again when Morgan Freeman was talking to Sam's?
I think it was something like, "Boy, get your whatever singing or something." I need to watch that movie again.
Oh,
it's a great movie.
I'm just saying, you can't just gloss over that like it didn't happen.
If we had more principles like that, things would be better. And
I know, but parents got to allow him to do that. He was going to throw Sam's off the roof.
That was probably aggressive.
People. I agree with you.
I'm just saying, Coach Carter, very similar story. And just a basketball coach instead of a principal.
It's not true.
He grabs a kid, throws him up against the wall. He locks the doors.
No, they both did use chains on.
There's a lot going on there.
Yeah, you probably couldn't chain the doors anymore.
Yeah. I'm just saying, there's a lot going on there.
Also, white men can't jump. White men can't jump. There's every time that I'm somewhere and I'm like, I got to run to my car. There's a thing or a part in the movie where the guy that gets hustled, the big guy, he's got the yellow Pinto. He goes, I'm going to go to get my car, get my bleeping gun, and all y'all MFers.
Yep.
And every single time I'm like, oh man, I got to go to my car. That pops in my head. And I'm like, can't say that out loud.
And then he just did.
Oh,
I'm gonna say,
I mean the full part, not the.
I think it's an age thing more than a cultural thing.
He's not that much older than you.
No, how old are you, Sautter?
I'm older than you.
So he's exactly between you and me age-wise. So I think there's a tipping point there that he caught some of those that I didn't, and did impressions.
I think it was more
that I
about
didn't either.
exposure.
I mean, okay, we'll just leave it there. Mike, what's
You know all those urban areas that Sautter spent time in,
like Peru, Nebraska.
Man, I grew up in. Okay, yes.
What's the biggest town you lived in growing up?
Oh boy,
I grew up in Tulsa.
Okay, but you lived in a lot of little towns around Nebraska, didn't you?
Yes, after living when I was 4, we moved to Tulsa. Middle of my 7th grade year, we moved to Peru, Nebraska.
Okay,
so I grew up in a very urban setting.
Is Tulsa bigger than Omaha?
I low-key like Tulsa.
I'm checking right now. Don't worry. You can keep talking.
Hey, so Jerome, how did it go last night? Papillion has a hard time scoring. Were you expecting more after they took prep to OT?
Yeah, and they beat Millard South. I guess I was. They couldn't score at the beginning of the game. Bellevue West started the game 20-0.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like, oh boy. Now, I do think Bellevue West is pretty good. Like, I think that they're not going to win every game, but I do think that they're ahead of schedule for sure.
Keith Melchers came along in a hurry, hadn't he?
Yeah, like he can really shoot it. Imagine that. Yeah.
Shoot the ball.
Yeah, and Braden Morrow's good, nice point guard, solid, right? Like it's just guys that we just haven't heard of, I think, for Bellevue West. And Robbie Garcia's done a really nice job kind of bringing those guys along and being the leader. I've seen, both their games so far this year, which is kind of an oddity. But that's just how it worked out. But I do like their team a lot. They shot 46% from 3 last night. You're probably going to beat anybody in high school if you shoot 46% from 3.
Yeah, that'll probably get it done at most levels of basketball. I would
dog will hunt.
Yeah. Sautter, who have you seen so far this year that you've been, I don't know if surprise is the right word, but that's been better than you expected?
Oh, I got one.
Ooh. Well, I was going to say Papio until last night. Yeah, I don't know. Pious girls, no. I'm trying to think girls and boys. And
is there anybody you're waiting on to be who you thought they were going to be?
Millard North.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's mine.
Yeah, Millard North for sure, because they struggled a little bit against Elkhorn South the other night. I'm just kind of waiting on them to
failing them so far.
I don't know. Maybe, to be honest, like maybe it's a little toughness in the first kind of little bit that I've seen. I watched a little bit the other night, just streaming, and then against Bellevue West, I think Bellevue West kind of just out-toughed them a little bit, which is really odd because the size advantage and all of those things. And I just think they were I think Millard North kind of thought they'd just roll in there and beat these guys that haven't played. So I think I think toughness is probably the thing.
Hey, can I take advantage of your range and talk college basketball with Coach Williams?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
how close do you think they are in terms of settling in on kind of how they want to defend in their rotation? A couple of games removed from Potts.
Yeah, I've seen Nebraska women play Sunday and Wednesday, their last 2 games.
Yeah.
I think they're getting closer, and I think Amaya Hargrove is for sure.
So is she best served coming off the bench, do you think?
I think so, yeah. I think she's probably better coming off the bench. She's the spark. She's been the spark offensively the last 2 games. She just she can stretch the floor. I love her demeanor. It's real, just level, right? Yeah. She's just kind of calm and calming. I don't know. They need to get bench production, and she can do that in a heartbeat. I do kind of like Allison Widener coming off the bench and being kind of that.
She's getting closer.
Yeah, kind of that, like, not scoring a bunch, but she's assisted, I think 12 assists in the last 2 games. That's pretty good. And Britt Prince, for as much as we hear about her and have her whole career, she's like coming on, meaning like she's just kind of getting I think they're trusting her to just kind of, hey, we need you to score. Yeah. And that's a little bit scary if she's got that ultimate green light.
Well, so I think against T-State, she played like 30 some minutes.
Yeah, she was clearly the best player, if you will. I have the box score right here.
And what did she finish with turnovers, 2 or 3? Because that's probably the one thing I think that's going to have to
clean up a little bit,
just a little, because I think they turn it over double digits as a team.
Yeah, they're averaging about double digit turnovers, which is a lot. She played 34 minutes and 39 seconds, and
that led them, right?
Yeah, and had 3 turnovers.
Okay,
and 5 of 11 and 19 points.
Yeah, you can live with 3 turnovers in 35 minutes.
That's a ton.
And she defended their best player.
So that's probably not my favorite. That's a weird term. That's probably what I like the most about the evolution of her game, is it's still growing, is her willingness to defend.
Right. Yeah. I mean, she's taken on that challenge. I think obviously the sky's the limit for her. That'd be fair to say. They do need to probably get a little more from like Jess Petrie and Kendall Moriarty and that. But I kind of like the lineup that they,
to some degree.
What'd you say?
Maybe Hake to some degree.
Yeah, I mean, she can shoot it. She didn't the other night, but she's for sure able to shoot it. I do kind of like the Kendall Coley in the starting lineup, just to kind of start things off, give you some length and some size a little bit to go with Markowski. But she's got to be a little more productive as well too, I think.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to switch to men's. If you got more on,
no, that's good. I'm going to come back to high school here in a second. Ravi, take it away.
I wanted to hit on the men's teams in the state here with Nebraska and Creighton. I know they have very different opponents this weekend, but do you think it's more likely that Nebraska bounces back from what we saw?
They're favored.
Yeah, I don't know how. Do you think? I have no idea. That line stinks to high heavens. Do you think it's more likely Nebraska men bounce back against Indiana, or that Creighton men are able to translate what they maybe found last week against a better Alabama team?
I think it's probably more likely Nebraska wins somehow. They're favored by 1.5. I don't know. I don't know how. I guess I do know how. One is Indiana is very poorly coached. Now their talent is tremendous. Their size is tremendous. But they don't really shoot threes enough. They just want to pound it inside. And what Nebraska's done so far, and with what they did with Kalkbrenner, what they've done with Zach Edey in the past, I think defensively they can hang in there. I do think it'll probably be close, like mid 70s, 74, 72 or something like that. Nebraska very much so needs a bounce back because what happened at Michigan State was it was terrible. They played terrible. A 27-1 run, like that doesn't happen in JV high school basketball. So that needs to probably not happen again. They got slaughtered on the boards.
Sometimes it happens in JV high school basketball. I've been there.
That probably not needs to not happen again.
Yeah. So it's one of those where, like, gosh, I don't know if Indiana is extremely talented, but Nebraska's also won 3 in a row against Indiana. And I think part of that is coaching, because frankly, Indiana was a lot more talented.
You think Mike Woodson might not be a good coach? Is that what we're learning here?
I think Mike Woodson might not be a good college basketball coach. You have Omar Balu, Malik Renew, Mackenzie Mbako, and Miles Rice, and then Trey Galloway in his 700th season of college basketball. You should probably be like...
They need Rice to play better, though.
They do. He's averaging 10 at point. I mean, I don't know how they put this roster together, because Mbako's going to get his buckets, and then they just want to just throw it into Balo all the time. Why? I don't understand why. Just let him kind of rim run and be a rim protector guy, because you have the guys to hit shots. They are huge. Braxton Mia is going to have to like actually show up tonight. That's going to have to be a thing. Like, he's going to have to actually show up, play defense, not play 7 minutes or whatever, play without fouling, all of those things. And frankly, Connor Season, if he's only taken 2 shots, they're in a lot of trouble. They got to find a way to get him shots, though, because he can't really create on his own. So, and he's got to get probably a little tougher too.
Let me jump back to high school, because some people are going to pit it against their schedule, and it's no disrespect because it's early and you just play what you play. But do you like Westview's potential?
Yeah, I do. So Amir Martin hasn't played yet. He's can't play until it used to be 90 days, but 80 whatever 3 days.
Yeah,
it
with
is.
Chris what's the tournament?
Metro Holiday Tournament. Yeah. So he'll be able to play for that. He'll play for the, when that starts. So he's their 1 or 2, probably 2 second best player. And he hasn't played yet. So that's pretty good. When I saw Westview Monday night against Omaha North. Talk about a crazy, clunky game. I mean, dude's just jacking shots left and right. It's like, okay, can we calm down here?
I kind of like North's roster, though.
They're long and athletic, but they're a little out of control. They need to rein that in. They took some really bad shots. So that's one of the things. But they have a chance to be good. They do just need to kind of, who's the guy, right? I think because for North, I think they're trying to do a little too much. And they need to settle on, is Jerry on the guy or not? So, but I do like Westview. I like John Sims. He's little, but he can handle it. You try and speed him up, he can go fast.
That's a smaller backcourt with he and Hollingsworth, and even though I love Regan
and Griggs. Yeah,
I've dubbed him. I used to call him Hollywood.
Regan hit some shots the other night.
Yeah, he did. He had some big threes late.
Yeah. So
I'm always going to cheer for him. He's a great kid.
Yes. I think Westview wasn't one of those teams at the beginning of the year where you're like, oh, they're going to surprise people, because they were supposed to be the best team in OPS, and they are, at least early right now. And this weekend, though, is this AB tournament thing is a really cool idea. So, tonight you have Scott versus Pius because they won last night. And then you have Bellevue West versus Westside. And the winner of that plays for this mini tournament championship game tomorrow night at 7:15. So you'll have either Scott and Pius boys or Bellevue West and Westside playing each other, which doesn't happen very often. So it's kind of cool. That's the final is supposed to be tomorrow night at 7:15 at Bellevue West. I plan on being there after going to the Council Bluffs Classic Wrestling tomorrow.
I was just happy to see Coach Klein nice to you. He's a great guy, so I didn't expect anything less, but good on him for reiterating that.
Hey, Coach Klein has done a tremendous job with this group.
I'm a huge unnecessarily yes.
Yeah. He's a really good basketball coach. Really good.
I just enjoy talking to him.
And he's kind of a nice guy, I guess.
Yeah.
Sautter, where are you going to be tonight? You going to be at Nebraska?
Yeah, I'll be Indiana, Nebraska, and then hopefully get to see the West Side Warriors tomorrow. And Lee Robinson's kind of made his presence felt in 2 games, averaging 14 and 9.
The least surprising news ever.
Right. It's one of those where
good basketball player, good at basketball
for a long time. Played against older kids his whole life. He's the real deal. If we get him out for football, look out.
Oh, you're trying to do that?
Out. That's my guy. We'll see what happens.
I will say this: London Dada's had a nice start to the year for Westside, and I want to bring that up because he's just a sophomore. Last year, just watching him kind of walk around, I'm like, dude, he's gonna be really good someday.
Yeah, that's what his dad tells him every day. I'm glad London's starting to listen, so his dad can keep us cool.
Hey man, his dad wasn't a bad player. Now, he was pretty good.
Great administrator too. Just don't want him to have to choke his kid.
It's Mike Sautter, Hurrdat Sports, NAB Preps. Mike, we appreciate it as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, Jerome.
Have a great day.
You too, Mike. Make sure you get out to Foaling Warehouse Omaha, a great place to hang out with friends, your business, whatever you've got going on. You can have events or just have a nice Friday or Saturday night. Go check them out, foalingomaha.com, to check out their hours, what all they provide, as well as reserve a lane. It's just like bowling, but with a football. It's foalingomaha.com. We'll be back. More Hurrdat Sports Radio. Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Radio, AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. It's time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska to place your sports bets, whether it's in Lincoln or in Omaha at the casinos. Make sure you get on over to Warhorse Casino to check out their sportsbook, or get to warhorsecasino.com for all their promotions and details. DB,
what is going on?
We're a little light on football this weekend. A little bit light, although we do have my 2 favorite service academies, Army and Navy.
Are you a big Army Navy guy?
Yes. It's funny because I'm more a fan of them individually than I am this particular game. I like watching them in the regular season. I like watching them succeed, but I do enjoy this game.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit, I know why they do it. I think it's a little bit of a bummer, especially now that both of them are good, that it doesn't happen early enough for it to matter in terms of the regular season. But I'm excited for this one. It's the only quote unquote regular season game this weekend. Army is a 6.5 point favorite over Navy.
I just think that's too many.
I also think it's too many. And I like Army.
That's big for a reason, though. But
I'm a big, you know me, I'm a big Jeff Monken guy. Been very upset. Been very upset that he hasn't gotten the national attention he deserves for some of these jobs.
So more or less,
Jamie Chadwell.
More or less upset than the national awards last night.
Ooh, more. Definitely.
I think Mike is still mad
about Travis Hunter.
Yeah,
that was dumb. He probably shouldn't have won either of them, to be honest. Of the position ones, here's the funny thing about Travis Hunter, right? Because of the nature of his game, you could make an argument more for the most outstanding player or a Heisman than I think you can for either of the position awards that he won. Is that fair?
That is absolutely fair.
Because he's pretty good at both. Don't know if he's great.
He's not the best at either.
Right. I mean, and to be fair, that the finalist field was kind of strange for the Blitnikoff, especially. I kind of look at that and I go, would I have picked any of those 3 guys as the best receivers in the country?
You wouldn't have.
No. It's kind of weird. I don't really know, because it was him, it was McMillan from Arizona, and those guy from San Jose State, right? and I probably McMillan from Arizona, I probably would have put in there.
Legit.
Right? Super legit. Probably should have won out of that group. But because the Blitnikoff doesn't have that's not one of them with the age restrictions on it, right? So I'm sitting there, I'm going, okay, you got a couple true freshmen out here that are probably the 2 best receivers in the country.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like,
I must say, statistically.
Sarcastically?
It's not funny, Cam. This dude's laughing so I can hear him through the glass.
My favorite thing
statistically
is when whoever the producer is with us, whether it's Shane back at the restaurant or Cam here, when they laugh and it's like muffled, you get like, oh, you think that was funny? You get so mad about it.
Yeah, Cam. See my frowny face? Stop laughing at me.
But yeah, statistically, which is what I think you were trying to say.
Statistically.
Whatever. Those were like you probably, like those aren't the guys.
I understand.
I'm just sitting there. I go, how do we land on these 3? And I sort of get how Travis Hunter gets lumped in there because he gets all the headlines or whatever, but there were better wide receivers than that.
So while we're on this thing for a second, I get the not having 2 Colorado guys for the Heisman.
Yeah.
But Dillon Gabriel isn't even statistically the best quarterback in the country.
No.
There's Shador and there's Ward.
Yeah, which Ward got the nod, which I understand. And that's a fair inclusion, I think. Miami is not anywhere near the college football playoff conversation without Cam Ward. But I don't know how. I guess best player, best team, Dillon Gabriel is how he got in. Is that what we're doing? It's kind of the Mark Ingram deal.
Sure.
Right?
I mean, should he have been Big Ten Offensive Player of the Year? I get he was the favorite going in.
And he was also favored for the Heisman going in. That doesn't mean he deserves it. I probably not.
It doesn't seem like
I don't think of this year in the Big Ten.
Who was the only guy you guys commented on every time he made a play in the Oregon Penn State game Saturday?
Oh, Tez.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's silly.
Yeah, it kind of gave me, I've made this analogy before. It kind of gave me the same vibes of, not to the same degree, but when Johnny Manziel and Mike Evans were down at A&M, everybody's like, oh, Johnny Manziel. I'm like, Mike Evans is pretty good. A lot of those balls
you asked me off air a couple weeks ago, you go,
yeah.
You ever go back and watch old A&M stuff like Johnny Manziel? And I was like, yeah, I mean.
Sometimes, every once in a while.
Man, are we sure Mike Evans wasn't the best guy on that team?
Because I'm not sure.
That's what you asked me.
And that's how I kind of feel about Tez and Dillon Gabriel. I think it's kind of the same dynamic, not to the same degree. Dillon Gabriel's, I don't know if he's better than Johnny Manziel, but I trust him a little bit more. But I'll just go back to some of those highlights. And you get this a lot with elite college quarterbacks that don't have, that aren't well regarded for the NFL. Is you look at it, you go, oh, their wide receivers make a lot of plays.
Yeah, Tez is like 160 pounds, though.
I know. I kind of love him.
Is he 5'8"?
The same way that I'm 5'11".
So no. All right. Just checking.
That's why I had him list me at on the roster. It was not accurate. So I was like, I think I can get away with 5'11". Nobody's going to believe I'm 6 foot. If you're under 6 foot, they kind of ignore the second number. They're just like, he's short. Got it.
Yeah, I don't know. Who do you think it's a foregone conclusion?
I think it should be Jonty. I really do. I don't know. I don't think it's going to be.
You don't want to bet on it?
I probably wouldn't put money on it because I think I'd lose it. But for my money, Jonty was the best player in the country this year.
I'm right now looking up the current Heisman odds.
Yeah. I would imagine Travis Hunter's a prohibitive favorite.
I remember before I was affiliated with the university, I get to vote. I used to vote on this thing.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know you were a Heisman voter.
Yes. But I can no longer do that.
Do you remember what was like your last year? Do you remember?
It would have been 2022.
Okay. How long were you for a while?
5 years.
Okay. I'm trying to think of who the guys were in there. See if you made any egregious decisions.
I can't even remember. But I can't. Really? That's okay.
What? I just trying to think if you would have, because you like to get a little.
Oh wow, they're not even close.
What is it?
These can't be current.
The current odds for Heisman?
Travis Hunter is the only minus.
That's what I'm telling you. I bet he's a prohibitive favorite. I bet that's right.
Listen, I'm not surprised
I bet that's
that
right.
he's the favorite. I'm surprised that we just have rested in the fact that he's the best player in the country.
I don't think he is. I think he's the most interesting story in the country.
But he is the most talented. I'm not gonna.
No, I'm not hating on him. I just like I said, I think he has a more deserving shot at the Heisman than he did at the Biletnikoff or the Thorpe. There are better guys individually at those spots, but he does both, so that matters. I get that. But I've got it at minus 2,000. That's nuts.
That can't be. That's what I saw. That can't be right.
I bet it is. I think he's the prohibitive favorite. I would give it to Jonty. I think Ashton Jonty's the best player in the country this year. What's Boise State without that dude?
No, I know.
Nothing. They have a bye in the college football playoff, DB.
As a 3, not the 4.
Yeah, they're not even the last bye. They're ahead of the Big 12 because of that dude. I get it's a good football team overall, but they're not in this conversation.
Would you change your 4 from my 4?
Which 4?
So Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame,
the teams you trust?
Penn State.
I wouldn't put Penn State in there because I don't think they're talented enough to matter. And I'm taking Georgia out because of the quarterback situation.
So you don't like – so 2 of my 4 you'd swap out.
But for
4,
not for the reason you gave me.
No, you get to take 4 of the 12. But that is why I'm taking those 4 teams.
Right.
As one of the champions.
I agree with your premise on why you like those teams, but I think there's a couple extenuating circumstances that eliminate Georgia and Penn State. I would go –
Is Oregon in your deal?
Oregon, Notre Dame. Notre Dame's my favorite. I think Notre Dame's going to win. That's my – I don't know if that's a hot take, but I think Notre Dame's going to win. I put Texas in there. I don't know that I have a 4th that I feel good about.
Wow, you put Texas in there because they can beat anybody but Georgia?
Yeah, and Georgia, and they can beat – I bet they can beat Georgia without a full game of Carson Beck. That's what I'm betting on, is that Texas healthy can beat a Carson Beckless Georgia if they have to. I don't know. I think Notre Dame is the best version of talent and cohesiveness. Maybe Oregon.
Not sure I would debate that.
But I like Notre Dame is the team that I like to win the national
If
title.
not, it's probably Oregon.
Yeah, it's one of those 2.
You want another tight-knit team that I think's getting way too many points is Clemson.
Plus 11?
Yeah. Seems like a lot.
Yeah, I have a hard time because if I'm riding with Texas, I have a hard time being like, well, Clemson still, it probably should be closer than 11, but I got to ride with Texas there.
You just know that you saw the second half against SMU.
Yeah, and I've seen, the ACC all season. So that's Bet on It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook. That's DB. I'm Ravi, Lulla, Matt Vrzal coming up next to wrap up the week. Wrapping up the show here on a Friday with DB. It's Hurrdat Sports Radio. I'm Ravi Lulla here on AM 590, ESPN Omaha, ESPN Tri-Cities, KFOR in Lincoln. We are joined now by our Friday friend, Matt Vrzal, former Husker, owner of Paisan's Pizzeria. What's going on, Verz?
Not much, boys. How are you?
Machu Picchu, how we doing?
Oh, you're not on the road today? You're actually at the office?
Yes. It's not. It hasn't been too bad. You have to negotiate like some intros and outro things like that you can't hear, but outside of that, it's pretty cool. Cam's good.
That's good.
Got a nice comfy chair.
With your tumbler. Got some 8th graders listening today.
Good morning, man.
No free ads here either. Well, we got a Diet Coke on the counter. What are we doing?
Yeah, get him, not me.
What's Bill doing at this joint? Just giving away free ad?
What's the thing when people, like when they stoke the fire?
I think it's just called stoking the fire.
Is it gaslighting or
no, gaslighting is a different thing.
Is it virtue sick? Whatever it is where you like get people's attention to be mad about something, that's what you do.
Nah, that's an S stir. Just stir.
S. It's an S stir. And you're talking to me about 8th graders.
The PG version.
You want me to say it?
No.
I'll say what I want to say.
The PG version is
Cam said, sure, go ahead. No, I'm kidding. I'm totally kidding.
Pot stir is the radio version of that.
Yeah.
What?
What's it, you guys on a delay? What do you got, 7 seconds?
No, we're not on delay. Don't say it.
Shane coming in from the rafters.
Because he knows he will get shut down.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah, I got a dilemma for you.
What do you got?
Because there's nothing going on. It's just portal talk, which is dumb because kids are going to come in and kids are going to go. There's new coaches. I have no idea what the D coordinator does. I have no clue what he's going to do. So here, last week. So I get Katie is working, and this old boy comes in. He's deaf, right? That's fine. We've got methods to figure that out. So we're working with him, and we're going. And so he's got 5 people. So we got him at a table. It's appropriate. It's 3:30 in the afternoon.
Okay.
So we're sitting there having a great night. Everything's going good. His buddies finally show up at 5. So he's occupied a 5-person table for an hour and a half.
Which I know. Ooh.
Okay. So fuse is short to start. All of said gentlemen are deaf, which is fine. We're communicating. Everything's going great. They've signaled that they love their food. We're now to 6 o'clock. They're still occupying a 5-person table on a weekend night. And I am now having to tell people that come in, you have we don't have room. It's going to be a little bit. And they point at the table. What's up with that table? It's like, I have no idea. And mind you, the last thing that they ordered that I could charge them for was at 5. No, I'll say it was at 5:45. All right. So I need this table. This is how I live. I got to turn and burn. About every 15, 20 minutes go by now.
You're making me nervous.
Because they won't leave. So I walk over and I do this.
Oh, you point to your finger. I got to go. Okay.
Wrap it up.
No, you didn't.
Yeah, I did. And guess what time they left?
Immediately?
9:30.
Oh.
6 hours.
Oh.
They sat.
Hey, you're doing the time motion thing. Got to go
every 30 minutes.
Oof.
Are they just doing it to aggravate you?
I did a couple times of this.
If you're not in stream, you're missing a doozy.
They looked at me like I was like, "What are you doing?" So, again,
were you gonna do another form of sign language, or were you mad?
I was trying to find deaf people I know to come over and hand signal to them. Hey, it's time to roll.
It's called sign language, Matty.
What's the difference? Hand signal, same thing. We're hand signaling.
Yep, ending just as offensive as we started.
They were just, why is that offensive?
Well, I don't think people would say, "Hey, do you know hand signals?" I think they would say, "Hey, do you know sign language?"
Fair. Tomato to me, but yeah. So anyway, dealt with it. They left eventually, and you know when I can manipulate my eyes to make people realize that they shouldn't probably come back.
Yeah. When you go serial killer, yeah, I know. I've seen it.
Human by human that left, I just was like,
"Oh, you did? You gave him one of those?"
I would say, do you do the big crazy eyes on them?
Think about it. It's just rude. Like if you can't comprehend that we need that table, like there's people standing waiting, and
I've seen you do it just the opposite too, where somebody will want to come in and no, you have to that table's open.
Yep.
And they'll look at you like, what difference does it make? And you'll reiterate, that table's open.
I need the big ones.
Yeah.
Turn and burn. Then this new trend, like people just in a PSA for everybody. Do not call in to order and then sit down with your to-go order. You can sit at the bar, you can sit at the oven, but you ain't sitting at my table. I don't care what time of day it is. I'm tired of that one too.
So they stopped.
Matty Vrzal here for business.
They stopped ordering. The last thing they ordered was at 5:45, and then sat there for another 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Yep.
Oh, that's a tough hang. That's a tough hang.
And I'll be honest. We just quit refilling their drinks.
Oh, that's
Shake cups. I was like, nope.
Hey, I got a question, Matty, because we've talked about this before, and I can't remember exactly what you said. We were doing like this date. It was one of the offensive line coaches that's coaching either for the Giants or the Jets. It wasn't McNally. Might have not either been either one of the New York teams, but he was from the MAC, and he was explaining why so many guys from the MAC conference and smaller schools do so well in the NFL. And he talked about the eye for talent and looking for certain things and not just measurables. And the correlation, Nebraska's got 2 offers out to MAC guys now that play offensive line. Do you remember having
Illinois State guy?
So they offered, where's Wolfschlager from? He's from,
I just saw it.
He's from Bowling Green.
Yep, that's right.
But I knew you like the other guy last week. What is it about kind of the conferences and what you're looking for that translates so well to Power 4? And in this case, the pros.
Man, it would be awesome if you could go through and say that's what it was. Like but it just probably more is the case of that's just where they happened to be. Like they fell through the crack and that's where they ended up. And you can watch games and you can know when a kid's outclassed everybody. He just kind of pops off the screen to you in his first couple steps. So I think it maybe has more to do with just a couple kids that have slipped through the crack, which you have more of a chance to be in the MAC if that has happened to you. I don't know if I can correlate it to just because it is the MAC or the smaller school.
Gotcha.
There's the thing that I think about a lot with whether it's, I think about with basketball players.
Band holds on.
What's that?
How that rubber band holds on top of your head.
Just got tight.
Wow.
Let's see that thing shoot off of there and like what the full mane looks like.
It's not good. It looks terrible when it's not up in the bun. Yeah, it's awful.
Like what are we talking here?
It's just long.
Why are you encouraging him?
It looks sweet.
I like it with the bun. I don't like it when it's long.
You don't?
Incredible.
No, it's just running down the back of my head.
What's that? You don't go to bed like that. Wifey's got like the full flow.
Oh, I go to bed with the bun in.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Then why keep it long?
Because I like it with the bun. I like the look of the bun.
Oh, you like the bun? Okay, got it.
Yeah. Yeah, the hair is long for the bun. That's the exclusive purpose. No, I wonder a lot about guys that end up at, MAC schools as opposed to, because we all know there's guys that get late offers to Power 5 schools, whether it's basketball, football, whatever. And I do wonder if there's certain guys that the opportunities presented at a MAC school, they may not be any different or more special than guys that end up at the back end of a Power 5 roster. They just made the right decision to go to a place where they could be developed. Like, do you think that it could be as simple as that with these MAC guys?
I think what happens when you have kids that are like wicked talented, they develop what a lot of kids miss right now, which is spite. Like you missed me. I'm about to show you what you missed. And then you're going to come back and ask me to, and now the kid has a ton of leverage. It's like, you missed me the first go around. Now you're going to pay.
Yeah.
Because you need me. So I think that's too many kids. Oh man, I'm awesome. I'm the best. I play on this team. I'm going to this school, yada, yada, yada. But nobody embraces the hate anymore. Like, if you look at those 90s teams, it was the land of misfit toys, right?
Mm-hmm.
T. Frage was supposed to be a defensive back or running back anywhere else. Just said, no, you come play quarterback. The Peter brothers were hockey players. Like, they were hockey players and good ones. Like you look at all these parts and pieces that nobody wanted, and you get enough guys in the room that are spiteful and want to prove to the whole world, hey, everybody missed us. Everybody. Then you got good culture and you got good system and you got good communication. And then you get all these talented people that thought Wistrom was supposed to be a tight end. Right? Michigan was going to put him at tight end where he was going to go until an awesome recruiting visit with the best recruiters in town came to fruition. We had a good hit rate that one year. Oh, man. We were like 7 for 8. That Brandon, God, what was that a-hole's name? Brandon something. He went to ended up at A&M and Brandon Stewart, maybe.
Yep.
Back. Then he ended up at Tennessee. He straight up told us, he's like, I ain't coming here. I was like, we are about to go perfect. Like they think we're TV called us Big Verse. Need one. I'm like, what's up, dude? Just got monster coming in. We need you to get him. I'm like, okay, send him over. Send to the bullpen, calling in the right-hander.
Got the closer, Matty Vrzal. We appreciate it.
All right, that job.
44 South Cottoner was the closer. Hey, come over here. I need to talk to you, by the way.
All right. It sounds serious.
Don't blow it off again like you did last week. Pissing me off.
That's Matt Vrzal. We'll talk to you later, Verz. That's the show for the day. That's DB. I'm Ravi Lulla. We'll be back on Monday with more Hurrdat Sports Radio.